In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What is the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, and it is the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I do it each and every week with my homeboys in the co-pilot of the show, the producer of this show, the man of, I would say, of much disdain by some, and much praised by others. Cody Lashney, welcome back to the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Tony Dunn, thank you for having me back. Yeah, I can't keep my mouth shut. I like to talk shit. It's been a problem since I was a little bitty child. Y'all pray for me. But more importantly, your boy, I was even thinking that I was going to have to go and try out to be the kicker of the Carolina Panthers. But turn out I don't have to do that anymore. The Panthers brought someone else in to do it. Robbie Anderson got the bag, and we have a ton more to talk about tonight, Tony Dunn. But you already know that we're going to do it with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. I'm talking about Sideshow Rob, the man that was here, Choppy71, my guy Nick Montiero, what's up, bro? Chad Morales, Tin Tizzy, Craig Cartner, Freddie Garcia, Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
G. Cavassier looks like he's in the house too. Is that Gerard Getty Green? I'm pretty sure that's G. Cavassier.
Oh shit! What up, G?
Maybe. I might be wrong on that.
No,
but,
that is. You're right.
Don't forget to smash the thumbs up button. Be a part of the podcast by calling in at 252-228-5098. We got a fun show for you tonight. We'll be talking about Robbie Anderson's extension, the increased or the newly founded competition in the kicking room for the Carolina Panthers, and also the heating up backup quarterback competition at 9:30. Tim Jenkins, former NFL quarterback, founder of Jenkins Elite, and also the offseason quarterbacks coach to PJ Walker will join us. He's been a great guest in the past, and I'm sure we're going to have some tough questions actually to ask him about how this competition is going. And I'm also interested to get his take on how much the players that are really bound to start games, like the guys like a Christian McCaffrey or a Sam Darnold or a Robbie Anderson, do they really need the preseason? Are these reps so important? So I'll be asking, we'll be asking Tim some important questions. He's been a great guest in the past, so make sure you support him by when he comes on, you follow him and hang out till 9:30. Again, 252-228-5098. CK in the house, how are you?
Dude, I am doing well, man. Listen, I got a few days before we actually get a true look at these starters, so this is gonna be really fun to talk about what we're planning on seeing, and obviously some news that we have. I'm super excited about Tim being on. He's thoroughly impressive in his first time on the show, man. It was just incredible. So this will be a really insightful and informative conversation we're about to have.
Shout out to my nephews, Archer and AJ, tuning in with my little sister. Also, good news, the world has not ended. Cephas is still in a terrible mood. That dude, when he says something nice, man, I'm going to be like, uh-oh. It's over.
And that's when he's talking about PJ Walker or Teddy Bridgewater. Then he's okay.
Oh, gosh.
Shout out to y'all.
Don't forget the show's powered by Volta. If you're a homeowner in North or South Carolina, you can achieve energy independence and get a fixed rate on your energy bill for the rest of your life. That's right. You can contact Kevin Brown, Solar Consultant, and take advantage of some federal and state tax cuts. And again, fixed rate on your energy bill for your life. Add equity to your home. Give him a call at 704-215-3373. Tell him C3 sent you. All right, guys, the big news of the day. Robbie Anderson inked a 2-year extension, meaning 2 more. He had this year on his contract. So 2 years, this will go through 2023. And some significant money. He's going to be pulling in $14-15 million a year. over those 3 years. And I think I saw something like 20 million guaranteed. There were some signs that this was coming. Obviously, there were reports earlier in the week or over the weekend that Robbie Anderson and the Panthers were deep in discussions about a contract extension. There were some signs that, hey, Robbie Anderson, after putting up 1,000 yards last year and not even doing it with his kind of his moneymaker moves of the long deep ball, right? Turned into a possession receiver, and really was healthy, was effective pretty much for this season. The beginning of the season was a little bit more productive for him, and it seemed like the back end of the season was more productive for DJ Moore. But we knew Robbie Anderson was interested in securing that bag because coming off 1,000-yard season, you don't know what could happen with injuries. And right now he comes out and he says this was a good fit. He likes the organization. He likes the fans. He likes Sam Darnold. And we know that connection between him and Matt Rule is important. And clearly, it seems like Matt Rule was in his corner here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we knew that this was going to happen. It was inevitable. Matt Rule had been talking about a player that they had been working on an extension with, and then we kind of inevitably heard through the grapevine that it was going to be Robbie Anderson. So really, it was just a matter of seeing, well, okay, how much money and for how long. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. When I first saw the numbers, I wasn't as freaked out as I thought I would be, especially after listening to Scott Fitterer do an interview today. He still seems, pretty intent that this deal doesn't preclude us from signing other players down the road, like DJ Moore, who's been mentioned, like potentially maybe a Dante Jackson if he has a standout year this year. It's only 2 years. I think the Panthers and Matt Rule view Robbie Anderson as an incredibly important part of their downfield passing attack. And having that kind of versatility on the football field, I mean, you essentially have a little bit of everything. You have a go up and get it receiver in Terrace Marshall. You have the yards after catch guy in DJ Moore, who also has that incredible long speed. But now you have, for sure that you have Robbie Anderson to help build this offense around. And he's always going to be able to take the top off of this defense. So I think it was important for this team going forward. And I don't feel too bad about the numbers that I've seen, man.
For me, it's about the length of contracts that are scary rather than the number that they get paid at the time. So, yeah, I mean, actually, this is significant money for a wide receiver, right? I mean, it's not like you're not getting them on a bargain deal, but we didn't also sign him to a 4 or 5 year blockbuster type deal.
Right.
Right. Is that it's like, hey, we value your contribution here. We want to keep you around. We also would like to take the angst off of your, the anxiety away about playing this season. And I'm kind of big on this too, because if you like a guy and if you feel like they're a good fit, I like signing them earlier than later.
Right.
Because it just costs more money later. Right. And if they let Robbie Anderson play out this season, he had another 1,000-yard season. He's going to be demanding, hey, you guys didn't sign me when you had the chance. Now I want the top dollar. CK, how does this do you see this fitting into the plan, though, when it comes to what the Carolina Panthers are doing? We still holding the bag on the Shaq Thompson contract. That's actually one of the bigger contracts on the team that is
right.
We can't get out of for 2 more years, man. Shaq Thompson's going to be on this team for a hot minute, right? Christian McCaffrey's got some big money. And then I think now it would be Robbie Anderson's next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Robbie or DJ Moore, you mean?
Well, no, as in who we've allocated funds to. How does this what do you think that this says about the kind of how the Panthers are going to, build?
Does this
help us with DJ Moore?
Did you watch Fitterer's press conference today?
I did not.
Okay. So he had talked about he has a 3-year tiered approach, right? And which is, gives me a little bit of confidence. I'm sure that all GMs have a similar approach to this, but he's got 3 years of the contracts that he's about ready to work on. And the fact that they've added that Robbie Anderson was a part of that tells me a couple of things, obviously, that they really value what he brings to this team. But I don't think somebody, said that it's going to leave. It's a bargaining chip for DJ because now we have Terrace, we have Shy, Like DJ's not going to be able to demand so much money from us. And I'm like, there's going to be other teams that are willing to do that. Like he's not going to bring down his price because we've got other talent on the team. Like if anything, that's just going to be like, all right, well, let me go check out and see what the open market's about. So I think that it's a good move. It kind of gives us some solid starters on our offense, on an offense that has been way too like pliable as of late, to where it was one person's there, then he's not there 1 year later. Some consistency, I think, can do us some good. So I think this is a positive move. I'm not super thrilled with the numbers, because he is a number 2 wide receiver and he's paid higher than almost half of the other number 1 wide receivers in the league. That just felt a little off to me, but we'll see how it plays out this year.
So I just wanted to read the official numbers here. It's a 2-year, $29 million contract with the Carolina Panthers, including $20 million in guaranteed. So this is a big contract. It's in terms of the money value in short term. So it's just 2 years. I already see people in the chat room talking about it being potential trade bait if we needed something down the road. Maybe like a left tackle or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. Right now, I just think it tells you how they view Robbie Anderson in this offense. That he is just a very important part of our downfield passing attack. And as you already mentioned to, instead of having to pay him next year, just do it now. Give him some money to say, hey, we love you. We want you to be a part of what we're doing. And what a better way to get a person to buy in, right? To buy into what you're trying to build. Just drop the bag on them. Hey, I'm happy for Robbie, man.
Yeah. Kego Fort. Kegel. I called him Kegel.
Kego Fort. Yeah. We'll say that.
Kego Fort says we have DJ for 2 more years, right? I mean, we've exercised the 5th year of his 5th year contract, or whatever they call it. I think that kicks in next year. Or is it this year? He's not in his 5th year. So he's in his 4th year. And then, so we have him this year, next year. And like he's reminded, there is the franchise tag availability. I agree with CK. I don't think that this means he lowers his price by any means. It's not a bar, but what it does do is not put you in your back up against the wall to have to sign one of these guys, to overpay a guy right out the gate because you don't have any other options. I'm big on Robbie Anderson. I like him. I think that last year impressed me because, again, he did not play the game that is his best. Like his best asset was almost taken away from him. In the downfield game.
Right.
And he still was available, produced, and played pretty damn tough, man. He became a possession receiver. For being the scrawniest possession receiver in the history of the world, was decent, was pretty darn good at it. Now, I guess the next story to move on to is Panthers brought in some competition at the kicking position, but strangely, it's none of the names that anybody was floating around that I had heard. You see that the Giants have a kicker who's been perfect in the preseason. Some people have said that. Was it the Raiders or somebody else? No, it was the Colts that have Blankenship and some other guy that they thought. So the other guy, they're going to hit waivers. And who is this guy? It's like a foreigner, isn't he?
So his name is, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Dominic Eberle. And some quick information about him. At Utah State, Eberle hit 79% of his field goals. For college comparison, Sly hit 23% of his college field goals. Eberle spent the 2020 season on the Raiders practice squad and was signed to a future reserve contract, but was ultimately waived. He has never kicked in an NFL game before. So listen, I mean, really, this is, to me right now, this is basically what we were asking for. It wasn't a big name. It wasn't the names that we floated out, like from the Ravens, as you alluded to, Tony. But again, I feel like it's sorely needed for right now. And Joey Sly should feel like his job is in danger, that somebody can come in and take this from him. We've been very unhappy with this performance.
Take it from him right now. He's handing it away.
Yeah, really. I mean, he might as well be the quarterback and just hand it off to this guy.
I know.
Hey, like I said, I was thinking about going and try out if we didn't do something.
Right,
So,
yeah.
shit, I'm happy that the Panthers did this. I have not been a fan of Joey Sly for a long time, so I'm hoping that that this guy can work out.
CK, they got the guts to move on from Joey Sly at this point, or are they gonna just bring this guy in and still go with Joey?
I'm slightly worried that they're still going to go with Joey, that this is just them trying to get him some competition to make him get him out of his head, maybe, or at least try to get him on his game. I guess it could be that way. I don't know for sure. I'd like to think that they're willing to move on from him, though.
Well, I wish this is not what we were talking about right now.
Right.
Is that not only are bubble discussions difficult, right? Is that when that's the bubble of the kickers? Ugh. Other news, because I really I was hoping Joey Sly was going to come in. They took away the pressure on him this camp, and they didn't bring any other kickers in. And we knew that he struggled last year. He was inconsistent, and he came out and he did the same damn thing. So the sports psychologist didn't do it. And I want him to. I don't like to overreact at every missed kick, but now it's getting to the point where it's just too frequent to just write off as kind of inconsistent with a big leg. Is that he has to connect on the makeable ones. And if Joey Sly could just be consistent on those 30-yarders, the 40-yarders, do you know how much value he would have in having that giant leg? Because then you could say, you know what? We could give him a 60-yarder and him potentially make it. The sad thing is he's almost more accurate from outside 55 than he is from inside 55, which is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard.
Right.
Yeah, it's a problem when you have to worry about all your extra points. I mean, really, those should be the gimmies. I couldn't tell you the first thing about it. If you haven't been able to pick it up, kicking isn't necessarily my forte. So
you don't have experience. Oh, you know what? I guess just like this is since you didn't play, since you haven't been a kicker, you can't talk about kickers, Cody.
Yep. Hey, what can I say? Hey, Joey was going to go with me. He was going to try out for quarterback while I tried out for kicker.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dual tryouts. All right.
But we'll have to see what he is. I hope that we get to see him a good bit this Friday in action against the Steelers.
All right. Moving down the line, Denzel Perriman. Boy, they told us we brought in the guys from Chargers Chat, and they said he never played a full season, and it looks like he never will. I don't know if he's played at all for the Carolina Panthers yet, even in practice. Then in to win at the linebacker position anyway. Then I hear some other things like that they're considering a rotation at middle linebacker and Jermaine Carter Jr. maybe even being in the lead for that.
No, it's not what you it's not a rumor. Matt Rule said today their starter is Jermaine Carter Jr.
What's Shaq doing? He's just like
no. Shaq isn't a Mike.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shaq isn't the Mike. Our starting Mike linebacker is none other than Jermaine Carter Jr. Perriman had been dealing with a hip injury. I do believe he had been dealing with some stiffness. He had been working his way back from that injury, just for him to get his foot stepped on again today and re-injure himself. And now he's working his way.
Wait, who
back
stepped on
from
his
that.
foot? Derek Brown? I mean, geez.
It was one of the big guys. He said.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll give him that. Man, it stinks.
I mean, even still, this might be the one time I agree with Cephas, man. To me, right now, I mean, if we're looking at the two guys that continue to get hurt, guys like Denzel Perriman, guys like Cam Irving, knock on wood about Cam. Maybe he can hold up on that left side. The Panthers sure want him to. But, dude, Denzel Perryman does not have a good track record. He's already been hurt almost every year that he's played in the NFL. And now he's already hurt for us, man. Like, our linebacker depth is so thin right now. Like,
he could have really used that Joe Sherbert for whatever his name is.
Yeah,
Sherbert,
I
whatever.
really don't. I don't know why we didn't jump on that, man. That was an opportunity for us to get better at a position of need. And I forget the guy's name, but we also had a linebacker at practice who went down today and was carted off the football field. So we were already low on linebacker depth. And now, that Perriman is essentially not, a part of our game plan going forward. Yeah, what does that say about that free agent signing? Not too much.
Sad. It's sad that I'm still disappointed in Shaq Thompson. Like, is that he got the money, he got everything, and he ain't even been that good. Period. But the fact is we need his ass right now.
Yeah, we certainly do. Hey, let me ask you this: how confident are we feeling about Jermaine Carter Jr. as starting inside linebacker? Keep in mind,
I like it. He can play, man.
So before you go, keep in mind in the 4-3 defense, this is normally the guy with the green sticker on his helmet, meaning they're the guys getting plays from the defensive coordinators. They're the guy going back and forth with the quarterback, making checks, calling audibles at the line, all that stuff that we used to take for granted when Luke Kuechly used to do it so immaculately. But, yeah, how are we feeling about Jermaine Carter being our starting inside linebacker?
You know what? He played hard last year. We got better when he came in.
Yeah.
Right? We got better when we came in. You know what? This dude's hungry. You watch him on Twitter. Like, he wants to be people to believe in him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. And, I mean, there was the interesting part about this is that him and Matt Rule didn't hit it off early. And Jermaine Carter Jr. said that he felt like Matt Rule was riding him for everything, like more so than other people. And then one of the other coaches stepped in and said it's because he believes in you or something to that effect. And now it seems like whether or not Matt Rule's position has changed or changed because he believes in him or changed by necessity at this point. I do think Jermaine Carter brings some youthful vigor to the team instead of just trotting out more kind of busted old, like horses that have run too many races. Is that a hungry dude that wants to get paid? Right. I mean, that's the thing is these guys he wants to get his check one day. So I don't think, he's not the worst option on our team. In fact, I don't really probably even think it's that much of a, or if any, maybe a lateral move from Denzel Perryman.
Yeah, another guy that I think, you mentioned Matt Rule has been kind of leaning on them and just putting more and more workload on them. I remember after that preseason game, Tony, you said that you didn't think that we saw any starters out there. Again, I'm saying looking at our linebacker depth, I'm thinking Frankie Luvu is going to play a bunch of meaningful snaps for us this year at the linebacker position. This guy flies around to the football. He's aggressive. He's in your face. I mean, he has by far been the training camp hero of the 2021 season. Like, this guy just continues to ball out and make plays. And looking at how shallow we are for linebacker depth, I see Frankie Luvu playing a very big part on this football team. And he might be a story to watch this entire year this year.
Yeah, count him on. Just go ahead and put him on the roster. He ain't even on the bubble no more.
No, he's a lock. I think he's going to play legitimate snaps for us this year.
That's fair to say.
All right. Why don't you guys want to squeeze in a cat call before Tim gets here?
Yeah, let's do it. By the way,
guys,
86 people. Y'all know what to do.
Hit him, CK. Hit him.
CK. Hit him with that special kind of shame.
Subscriber shame.
84 people. Man, we don't have nearly enough likes. We don't have nearly enough. There's only 31. If you support Panther content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Tony Dunn, let's hit a cat call, brother.
It's free, man. Don't forget the cat call number is 252-228-5098. Let's see what we got here.
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like. Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Yo, guys, this is Christopher Kelton who's calling. Man, I don't know about you guys, but I just want to know, were you impressed with the play calling with Joe Brady, man? Gosh, what happened to this offensive juggernaut? What's going on, man? I mean, getting to the red zone and we're fizzling. And I don't care if it's the ones or twos. I want to see some kind of progression go through this thing, and nothing's happening. I want to just know how you guys feel about it. The defense also looked pretty good. I got to give them credit. They looked all right. That number 535, Julius, he was getting torched. I know he ain't going to make the team.
That's the truth.
You know, all in all, the guys look good on the defense. But, you know, I'm just not satisfied with some of the coaching. Some of the executions this has got to pick up. You know, Matt Grier, he looked, Will Grier looked okay. I'm not impressed because he threw a few nice passes and stuff like that. In game time, I'm not so sure he's going to be there. I don't know what we're going to do next to put him on the practice squad. I don't know. P.J. Walker, I wasn't impressed with the threes and stuff. I think they were a little lost out there. Some of the guys, Frankie Luvu, he looked good. He's a beast. Stanley Thomas Oliver, cornerback, looked really good. Keith Taylor played okay. He looked good. We got some positives to stuff to talk about. We got to get something on that run defense, man. Not looking so hot for us. But I just want to hear what you guys think. So I'll talk to you guys later, man. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding, man. Great call. So, you know, listen, I've heard this said a lot. People are underwhelmed with Joe Brady and his, you know, his red zone play calling and potentially our lack thereof of red zone practicing, our play calling. And my thing is this, like, I'm sorry, you're just not going to get a strong opinion out of me on our offensive play calling after 2 preseason games. And I know that's not, you know, everybody wants to have a real strong opinion about it and say that, oh, we're not doing this enough, we're not doing that. We haven't seen shit yet. It's all just a bunch of vanilla offenses and vanilla defenses, and we're just trying to get these players, you know, through some meaningful snaps, man. Getting these guys on the offensive line to gain a yard or two when you need it and you're trying to run the football. You know, these are things that you're still building upon before you start the season. So, you know, I would really just caution people to pump the brakes about people, you know, calling Joe Brady's play calling into question. Like, give the man some time. Give Joe Brady and Phil Snow at least, you know, 1 or 2 games before we start panicking about what kind of decisions they're making. Because right now, I haven't seen enough to, you know, give me pause or even make me worry about what we're going to be doing. I think it's kind of overblown right now as far as that matter is concerned. But yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Don't worry about the play calling at this point, folks. Is number one is as someone who was hesitant to crown Joe Brady as the guru, right? Last year, we did see his play calling evolve throughout the year, right? It's like even in the beginning of the season, like weeks 1, 2, and 3, they're gonna bring stuff out as you get down the road. I'm not worried about the game calling in preseason at all. It should be vanilla. It has to be vanilla. But I guess there are some semi concerns when it comes to like number one is that we heard they didn't have the silent count in the Colts game on the road. Seems like a good time to practice that. So questions about that. Maybe are those learning experience for Joe Brady in a way, right? Is like, oh man, I didn't even think that maybe this is such a good opportunity. So he's he's getting experience as well. And I think the real concern is not about the play call. It's just about the lack of effectiveness in the red zone. And there's a PTSD among Carolina Panther fans for like 3 years about the lack of effectiveness in the red zone. So when you get down there, and we get down there 3 or 4 times, Cody, and we didn't punch the ball in. They said they weren't running their goal line defense. There's some, all these different things. For me, it's not play calling. I just need to know this: is when the hell is the tight end going to produce in Carolina?
Well, listen, apparently there's no reason why we shouldn't see it this year. I mean, Dan Arnold has essentially been the favorite receiving threat of one Sam Darnold during this training camp. Matt Rule even mentioned it again today in his press conference. Listen, I think that we have 2 huge weapons, no pun intended, on our offense that we didn't have at our disposal last year, and that's Dan Arnold and Terrace Marshall Jr.
Right.
And those guys are nightmare fuel in the red zone. So I think we're going to be able to take advantage of those matchups. Give Joe Brady some time. Give Phil Snow some time. Get Matt Rule some time. We can't be judging off of preseason football. Way too
right. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, the longest running Panthers podcast on the interwebs. That's including the team themselves. You can support the show it's free. Smashing the thumbs up button, subscribing, and being part of the chat. You can call into the show at 252-228-5098. Cody, it's time to bring in our guest, Tim Jenkins.
Yes, sir.
Jenkins Elite. Tim, welcome back to the C3 Panthers podcast.
I'm pumped up. Transparently, I wish it was last week, but we'll do the deal.
I know. I am surprised you're excited. PJ Walker, and for people listening, Tim Jenkins, founder of Jenkins Elite. You can go. It's JenkinsElite.com, correct?
Yep, JenkinsElite.com. I was real creative with the name. With the name.
Where'd you get that?
There's a beautiful picture of PJ up there right when you get on the website. Former NFL quarterback for the Rams, right?
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Thanks again, Tim. You've been very popular among our guests, and thanks for taking the time to look at PJ's tape after the first game. And I'm sure that you want to burn the tape after the second game. And, there was PJ Walker. There's a competition. There's a quarterback competition in Carolina, and it doesn't involve the starting quarterback, but it does involve the 2 guys behind him. Will Grier, former 3rd-round draft pick by the Carolina Panthers. PJ Walker, a former Templar, and Matt Rule guy. So it seemed like this as PJ comes in last year, leads the Panthers to a victory against the Lions, I believe it was, and comes out in week 1 of the preseason. And they said that that there was a real competition in the training camp, so to speak. PJ Walker comes out in game 1 against the Colts, and I thought looked decisive, right? Is that even on the plays that he missed, it looked like there was a confidence in throwing the ball. It looked like he understood what was going on. And most impressively to me was kind of the ability to command the offense, right? And to get guys set up, get it on time, identify the mic, all these different things. It really felt like he looked cool and in control at that moment. Next week, though, after that game, Will Grier, I wouldn't say he didn't get a fair shake, but he played with the threes.
Yeah.
It wasn't even on him. It was just by this point you saw what's happening. It's just like such a decline. And after PJ's very impressive first half that they gave him full control, Will Grier just didn't have a lot of opportunity to do anything. They handed the ball off. This week they flipped it. Will Grier comes in there and responds. Really had a nice game. PJ was off.
Yeah,
he was off, man. What happened?
Well, I think you've nailed it, which is when you see these 2-3 QB battles, you're gonna see the guy who's running with the twos always look better. right? That's just the reality. I mean, we're seeing it in Denver right now with Drew and Teddy, where Drew looks really good with the ones and then falls off with twos, and Teddy vice versa. So I think, you're always going to see that kind of stuff. To be transparent, and I've watched the tape, Will had an awesome game. I thought he made really good decisions last week. I thought he was putting the ball where he's supposed to be. I think with PJ, what you really saw was who he is, which is it's feast or famine. PJ is not the type of kid that gets under center. So there's two kind of quarterbacks, in my opinion. There's the guys who, when they get under center and it's a man look, don't even think twice about getting to an easier throw. They're going to attack, and that's PJ. And that's also when you get 1 of 8 games, is because you're throwing 50-50 balls to guys who in reality it's a 20-80, right? Because they're not guys like Robbie Anderson that'll go up and get it, or whoever you're used to throwing to. So I think that's kind of where PJ more or less struggled this week was, listen, if I'm being transparent, he made probably better decisions in the pass game from a structure standpoint. It just didn't get executed, and that's
they were just off. He was just off.
Yeah, that's what you're seeing in the level of guy around you. So I think, in terms of what the coaches are grading out, it's always different because we see one thing on the TV copy, and it's not until we really get the all 22 that you can start to dive into it. But honestly, I thought Will did a heck of a job. I think really from the Panthers' perspective, the biggest thing when you're evaluating that battle, and here's the thing, I love PJ to death, but man, I love football, right? I'm like I'm a football addict, so I'm always going to shoot it straight. The thing that I think the Panthers in reality are going to just have to make the decision on is, hey, in the event that Sam goes down or something happens to Sam, what do we kind of want from that next guy up? If it's the guy who, hey, to me, PJ's the guy who, it's either going to go in there and it's going to be really bad, or he's going to go in there and it's going to be like, this guy should have been our starter, right? There's two modes of PJ, and those are the two. With Will, I think maybe you get a little steadier hand from just willingness to get to a check down or willingness to get to a certain route. I don't want to say that he's Teddy, because I know the fan base right now with what they just went through with Bridgewater, but it's more or less that same thought process. I talked about that 2-play stretch that PJ had in his first game where he throws the cover 2 hole shot and then follows it up with the spin out touchdown. That's, in terms of NFL, you're not going to see another cover 2 hole shot this year, right? You'll see it from maybe there's 2 other guys in the league that would even try it, and they wear 12 and they're up in Green Bay with some long hair. And the other one is the guy who, Andy Reid pulls his hair out every once in a while because he does stuff that you're just not sure of. So you're not going to see that kind of stuff. So I think it's one of those things where it's just going to be an organizational decision on kind of how they see that backup role, in my opinion. But I think either way, as long as Sam plays well, it just doesn't matter.
Tim, amongst Panther fans, there is a huge contingent of PJ Walker's super fans, man. Like we had one in the chat room earlier, and it's easy to see why people love him. I mean, you mentioned it. Like, he has this thing. Even last season when we put up 20-0 on the Detroit Lions when PJ Walker came in, and he made a play rolling to his right and just made this effortless throw downfield. Like, the dude has an unreal cannon. He can shut the football downfield. Where do you think some of his inconsistencies come from? Because I feel you even alluded to it too. There's a lot to love, but then there's also a lot that makes you kind of scratch your head and go, where'd that come from? That seems like it should have been a layup for him.
Definitely. I mean, when you see PJ run to the sideline and rip a 40-yard dart and then follows it up being a little behind on a slant, it makes you pull your hair out, right? So I think, I think the inconsistencies in terms of like the stat line honestly comes down to willingness to not take advantage of a look, right? I just think that's the bottom line. When you have a quarterback who, I think about what he did this week, right? How many times did he check the slot fade and try to attack man coverage? And honestly, he throws a ball that the kid catches and he's one step out of bounds, right? And I think there's a lot of stuff that goes into a game of okay, if that kid catches it, somehow drags his feet, is all of a sudden the momentum different, right? I think there's a lot of things. But I do think when you're looking at a stat line, PJ would have a really hard time being a 70% completion guy. It's just not kind of how he's built. And it's not because he's not accurate. I just think he's not willing to take the shallow if he feels like he can hit the deep over. And I do think the NFL, by and large, the guys that we're used to seeing are used to just taking the shallow and then moving on. You know, I always obviously I'm biased. I love PJ just as a kid and a human. I'm always a fan of the guys hunting. It's a little bit more fun for me to watch.
Sure.
And I think, you know, as a fan, there's the plays that he ends up throwing across his body or trying to fit the corner route in the red zone in the regular season last year. That's a pick. Those are so frustrating. But nothing compared to the 3rd and 13s where the corner's open, but they throw the shallow and it's a punt. So to me, it's like, okay, it's all about give and take. And honestly, we've already seen it from Teddy this year in Denver where it's like, hey, man, it's 3rd and 17. We've got a deep Hank that's sitting at 14 yards. And listen, on the all-22, there's clearly a window, but you took the back. Like that
never throws it, dude. He's a bum.
Yeah.
He's a bum.
And that's just something
he will throw. He won't throw any picks.
Tim's been doing some film breakdown of Teddy, and Teddy's like not horrible in that offense. They've seemed to really build it pretty well to suit what he does, but here in Carolina, it just did not work.
Tim, you have to understand, there's a lot of PTSD involving last season and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson screaming wide open downfield. It seems like Teddy Bridgewater would even see them and then just chooses not to pull the trigger, man. And I feel like that was a great juxtaposition for PJ Walker to come in because I genuinely feel like his aggressive downfield throwing, that even sparked our defense to turn it up. I mean, the Panthers pitched a shutout that day. Yeah. And I feel like that aggressive nature on offense really kind of lit the whole team on fire, and we were in desperate need of that. Many people wanted PJ to have his chance to take the reins last year, and that just wasn't going to happen.
Teddy Bridgewater made Robbie Anderson a possession receiver.
Yep.
How the hell does that even happen? And thank God, man, Robbie Anderson was tough enough to do it at 162 pounds or whatever he is. What do you think the mental state is for not the mental state? That's a kind of a tough question. Getting somebody said you're going into week 3 of the preseason.
Yep.
Things have changed, right? We don't have the 4th game.
Yeah.
We know it's kind of Darnold or bust in the minds of like, I mean, and that's the NFL. It's the starter or not until the guy behind him shows that he's a gem.
Yep.
But we have PJ having a really solid performance in his first game.
Yep.
Then we have Will Grier, and I got to give kudos to Will Grier. I didn't know he had it in him.
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't know he had it in him. And the mental fortitude to come in when you know you're kind of already fighting up an uphill battle against maybe a staff that potentially favors PJ a little bit more because of their background with him. He really responded in the moment. How do the Carolina Panthers, how did they evaluate in this final game, especially when they're, I guess, planning on giving reps to the starters? How do they, I mean, because it's almost even right now. And maybe I would say Will Grier pulled us slightly ahead in that last game. But it's close to a wash. How do the Panthers evaluate this? You mentioned what happens if the guys go down, things like that. Is how does PJ get the job?
Yeah, I think, well, first, I think you brought up a great point of how do they, with the 4th preseason, I'm fascinated what Carolina's doing. Full transparency, I'm flying out to Charlotte to watch the game because I did not think for a second that they were going to play any starters. I'm like, there's no shot anybody plays in week 3. And rules almost flipped it compared to what the rest of the NFL is doing, which is give some guys some series last week and then nobody's playing this week. I also think that's probably a little bit of that college background, which is like, we'll just do it however we feel like doing it. And this is what they've decided is best, and he could care less what the rest of the league does. So you kind of got to respect it. In terms of evaluating that competition, I mean, the thing that you're going to see is, this is just my personal take, whoever goes with the 2s, of course, is going to look better, right? I think in terms of going with the 3s, PJ has the most potential to look better because of his escapability, right? If you get out of the pocket and get in a scramble drill, it doesn't matter who your receiver is if a DB has to cover him for 7 seconds, right? Like I could probably still get open, if I got 7 seconds to work somebody. So I think that's where potentially you could see it. I think the Carolina the roster makeup is going to be interesting in terms of. Listen, I don't think. I hate saying this because it's not like I'm not trying to speculate or make anyone feel one way. I just don't see a world in which you could re-sign PJ to the practice squad. I just think there's too many people that saw him in the first preseason game and then win a game and are thinking, there's so many backups in this league right now that I would drop for, quite frankly, either of those guys. So I think,
for a guy with mobility and a bazooka, as Cody Lashney says, if he says he got a bazooka,
right? And I think there's certain places too where he makes a lot of sense, right? Seattle is a team that I think would target him because you always want those guys to mirror what the starter is. So I think there's different situations. So in terms of who they end up keeping, I almost think there's an argument if they're going into it and they're like, okay, listen, we've got Will Grier graded slightly higher. There's almost the argument to be made to carry 3. I know people hate doing that in the modern NFL, but it's
we did it last year though. We did. I don't think this team wants to do it. I thought their initial feeling was PJ was the guy.
Yep.
And then Will Grier kind of probably made us scratch our heads last week a little bit more.
He had a great outing. I thought he was smart with the football. I thought when he needed to, he was aggressive with it. I thought he did a really, really darn good job. And I think it's one of those things that I wouldn't be surprised if I was a coach, I would almost give Will the 2 reps this week as a do it again situation. Because I know what I potentially, or I should feel like I kind of know what PJ can do. Right, I saw him in a regular season game, multiple, and then I saw him in week 1 with the 2. So I almost feel like I'd be more interested if Will Grier does it again, because I think if Will Grier does it again, there's an argument to be made that he's the backup. I also think there's a chance that Will Grier goes in and kind of does what he's done in the past. And then it's almost like, okay, now we can evaluate it from there on what we want to do. So I almost think there's an argument to be made if I was on that staff of saying, hey, let's get Will in there first. But in reality, you could let them both run with the 2, right? It depends on who else you need to sub in there from who's actually on the roster bubble and who you're going to cut. But there's a lot of opportunities to where you could say, listen, hey, these are the guys that we actually just want to go out there.
I think they got to give them both a fair shot of, with a quarter with the 2s each. I don't know how you do that, though, if you're going to be playing your starters so much. Do you think PJ got so one of the things I was impressed about PJ in the first game was we know his legs are such a threat.
Yeah.
But he chose, and even the coach said, I wish he would have gone, and you said it in your video is, go for the first down, potentially score. But that's to me, that's what you do in a game.
Yeah.
PJ's trying to showcase that he's more than a runner, I thought. And I thought he was, trying to demonstrate that I have mobility and can deliver. You felt like he got a little nervous in the second game? Not nervous, but I felt like there was a couple of times where he just ducked his head a little bit and started kind of running around a little bit and then was trying to look up the throw. How do you, is that something that some people, I think Scott Fitterer said it's because he has kind of trouble seeing over the middle?
Yeah, I think it's always hard. As someone who's been under center, nobody can see. I don't care if you're 6'6" or if you're 5'10", you can't see because these guys are 6'6", and then helmet adds 4 more inches, right? These guys are humongous. So in reality, no one can see. I think what you saw, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, more or less I think what you saw when I looked at the All-22 this week was just you saw some routes that had to have been busts, right? There's just no way that Joe Brady would have schemed it up the way. And then I think when you see that as a quarterback, you tend to get the heck out of there. Grier, the first week, had that, where there were some receivers busting routes, and Will Grier's get out of there is, hey, he would try to get to the check down, or, he'd hang on something and take a sack. That's just those 2s. Every quarterback has a default of, okay, this route's wrong. What do I do? I think PJ's is I'm going to go ahead and get the heck out of this pocket and see if I can make something happen. And Will's is let me go ahead and try to get to my check down. So I think, that's the challenge, like you're saying, where it's like, man, you'd almost love to get them both reps with the 2s. because the challenge is when you get some of those younger guys in there that maybe aren't confident with the plays, how do you grade out a quarterback who, hey, on this, on F ship, we want you to read the ship to the shallow, and your F runs a corner. At that point, how do you grade him out? And I think that's the challenge. So, overall, I think if you're Carolina, I get the thought process, which is, hey, we're going to roll Sam out this week, and then we're going to really kind of treat it almost like a game by game. So I get what they're doing. It's not ideal for the backup quarterback situation, but if we're being honest, like you stated, and it's true, until you throw a backup in there and it turns out he's a star, you really don't care because, you're built in this league around the first quarterback. So that's going to be the challenge for either of those guys is obviously everything slanted towards, hey, what are we going to do to get the most out of Sam? And I think everyone, I'm excited to see what he actually does, right? It was almost like last week, it sucked just seeing him for a drive.
It was a cock tease.
Yeah, right? It's like, you
saw
him throw a curl, and it's like, it just wasn't what you wanted. You want to see him go out there and try to execute the offense. So I am excited to see that. And I do obviously think that Sam is a pretty darn good quarterback who's going to a system that I think fits him a heck of a lot better than the Jets did.
Yeah, so I two things. I wanted to get to Sam Darnold and pick your brain for a moment on him before we leave here tonight. But with PJ, so many people are pulling for him, partly because Will Grier still hasn't done anything to really ingratiate himself to his fan base. I mean, he hasn't won out the backup job any time here. He was drafted in 2019, and we've still wanted to see some progress from him that we feel like we haven't seen. He couldn't beat out Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, and, P.J. Walker. So if P.J. Walker's coming in and looking good, showing the ability to move the ball downfield, I've been 100% on Team P.J. I would be happy if P.J. won out and did end up becoming the backup quarterback for the Panthers. I think a lot of fans are pulling for that, quite frankly. But you brought up Sam Darnold, and we'd be remiss if we didn't at least bring this up and pick your brain on this. Yeah. We're all, Panther fans are kind of split on this because they see all the terrible film that he produced with the Jets, and they think, well, that's going to be the guy that we're going to get here. Are you one of the people that buys into the idea that, the Panthers have the weapons, the offensive coordinator, and just the overall coaching staff that Sam Darnold needed his entire time in the NFL? Do you think this is the place that might be able to help reinvent his career?
Yeah, I think Cody, I think that's a great question. I really believe, and I don't want this to worry Panther fans. I really think this is feast or famine. I think it's either going to be such a knockout home run to where you're going to be sitting there and Sam's going to be a 35 TD and 10 interception guy, or it's going to be, he's going to be the aggressive guy that he's been in the past and careless at times, and it's not going to be pretty. The thing that I would tell you too, and this is just based on witnessing what Carolina ran last year, Joe Brady doesn't necessarily ease quarterbacks into games with his calling, right? Joe Brady tends to be very aggressive like he was with Joe Burrow in college, which again, right, we all know the college game and pro game is a heck of a lot different. So as a play caller, he's been around the NFL a majority of his career, but as a play caller, he tends to be very, very aggressive. And a guy like Darnold, you almost want to ease him into ball games because it's like he's naturally going to be aggressive. So I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic, but I do think I see a world in which Sam goes off, because let's not forget what everyone was talking about when he was coming out of USC, and the kid's not that different. He just went and played for Adam Gase, who, I got to be honest, from a play calling perspective, Adam Gase has gotten a lot of jobs because he coached Peyton Manning, right? You go ahead and
that's the only reason he has a job.
Yeah, bring me, take me and I'll drop me into an NFL team, but give me Peyton in his prime. or at
You'll
the end
do
of the
okay.
year, either way, I think we'll be okay.
French fries. I'd show up French fries. I'd be like, go do what that guy says.
So I do think it's going to be an interesting situation with Sam. I do see a world in which he's very successful. I think what Teddy said about Carolina is somewhat concerning in terms of the structure of the week and things like that. But you also don't know if that's a new staff adjusting to COVID, if it's just a new staff's philosophy together, or if it's a guy who's a little bit bitter on his way out. So I think there's different ways to look at it, but that would be the only thing that I'd tell you that I think would be concerning at all when you look at it. Is I do think Sam's a guy who you need to situationally work hard at practice with, because I think that he struggled at times with coverage recognition that should have been kind of base. But I think if he gets that drilled into him, or he feels like he's playing with confidence, I think obviously the sky's the limit for that kid.
I have a question, but here, I got to do this first. We do not listen to this person.
Oh, God. Dude.
We do not listen to Tadisha. I am sorry. That Tadisha has no credence on this podcast. If you dress up like that, you're an NFL quarterback. God.
See, Tim, we don't even know if we want to believe him, because part of it is like, okay, are NFL coaches really just choosing to neglect red zone offense? Like, is that really what we're doing? Or, I don't know how much you followed it last year, but Panther fans felt like there were many times when Teddy Bridgewater would throw other players and coaches under the bus for his own poor performance. So we're at Panther fans, like, we're kind of scratching our heads here. Is like, is he giving a legitimate criticism of something that we genuinely don't do enough? Or is he trying to put flower petals over a pile of doo-doo? It's like we really don't know which one
lies
to put.
somewhere in the middle. The truth lies somewhere in the middle, probably, and that is it's a COVID season. Yep. Right, you have more limitations on practice than you have at any point. Right, you're trying to protect your players from being sitting out and different things. But I've been saying this forever. I've been to only as a witness from the outside looking in at training camps. When they say they go practice for 2 hours, and they run the route like one time. One time it's like, got it, moving on. That's not practice. They're not doing it over and over and over again. Like it is. And that's where it's kind of the toughest game is for the bubble guy. Yeah. Right. Because they only get one chance to run the route. They get one chance to make the play. Like, so PJ stock was soaring after week 1, and he comes out there playing from behind. Right, having to try to be aggressive, probably on his mind that Will Grier had a good game too, right? And he had a limited opportunity. So you know what? Is Teddy Bridgewater gets plenty of opportunity. I don't listen to Disha. I don't listen. To
I also think.
Go ahead.
No, I also think that you're right in terms of it is probably somewhere in the middle, and you never know. When he was in Minnesota, they might have worked situational football at an exponentially high rate, or New Orleans did that. So then when he got here and it was just simply at a lower rate, it felt like we don't work it at all. So I think, I think there's a lot of factors when you're listening to those guys. But I do think just specifically to Sam Darnold, I think the coaches need to skew heavier situationally than maybe just the 20 to 20 plays.
Yeah, first year on the job for these guys too. I mean, and I want to remember that for Joe Brady is that while he's had some experience with some organizations, he's never been the dude.
Yeah. And like, listen, if you're being honest about, what's gotten him to this point is he had Burrow and all those receivers at LSU, and again, they did great, and he taught, and he was an amazing teacher. But we're acting like this guy's got 10 years of coordinator experience. So I do think you got to, you're going to ease into and have some growing pains as you're learning that stuff. But I also think you're going to see some really innovative stuff come out of there. And that's the point and why you do opt for a guy like that versus maybe a recycled guy who's been through the league a bunch.
I have a unpopular opinion on this podcast about playing the starters in the preseason. We came out, we didn't play our starters at all in week 1, and I was fine with it. We go in and we play them one series or whatever in a wonderful situation, right? Like a turnover. You only got to go. My unpopular opinion is I don't think we should play the starters at all.
Yeah.
In the entire preseason. You've been in these preseasons. You've been with guys that have been in the league for a while that are going to be on. We've seen, I know stars, and I know it's like an extreme example. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played a preseason game in forever.
Yep.
How much competitive advantage is there in the Panthers gaining that? All right, so if they go out and play their starters on offense for the first half in this third preseason game, versus the alternate, which would be playing them not at all in my mind.
Yeah.
How much competitive advantage versus disadvantage are you truly getting there, you think?
So I think, let me give you my true take, which is I actually think NFL players are getting more preseason reps than they ever have. It's just in a controlled environment with joint practices. We are seeing joint practices at an all-time high, and I think it's coaches saying, you know what, this is as good as my guys playing in the preseason. I just don't have to worry about my quarterback tearing his knee, right? Like, that's the reality of it. So I almost think they're getting even more reps than, say, back in the day when you saw dudes playing to the fourth quarter in the third preseason game, because they're getting those 100 practice reps against other teams' ones. That's just as good. So I think, if you were to say, hey, Tim, there's no more joint practice, I would wholeheartedly disagree and say they've got to play in the preseason. With knowing how much joint practice there is now and how many teams are open to the idea now, I almost think that's the way the NFL is going to go, which is we're going to get to a point, in my opinion, in which there's only 2 preseason games. There's 4 weeks of joint practice, and the 2 preseason games are really for the second and third string guys. I really think that's where the NFL is going to trend, especially once you start. If you think about it, think about the Patriots. The Patriots have always been on the forefront of joint practice. Like, they've been the teams always pushing for joint practice, and then Tom Brady was the guy barely ever playing. So I think they were onto something a while ago, and I do think, it's tough for me to justify and say, hey, let's sit Sam Darnold when you still see Patrick Mahomes take the field, right? It's like one of those things like, okay, if he's still going out there, maybe you should suit up. But I just think it's one of those things that if they're getting enough reps in joint practice, you don't need to play them.
Right.
How much rust does it truly knock off? How much rust? I saw somebody, and this was strange to me, is I saw somebody in one of these, the Twitter, we have these group chats of all these people that create content. And he was like, because we're not playing Christian McCaffrey in the third game. And he's like, man, I really want him to hit the pads a couple of times just to feel the contact and to give him some confidence about not getting hurt or something like that. For me, is that like these guys have been playing this game their whole entire lives.
Yep.
Right? Is it truly how? All I would say is this: what did that one series for Sam Darnold and them really do?
Yeah, I have an issue. I would tell you, I don't agree with. I would never play a guy one series. To me, that's just like asking for something to happen and the reward is really nothing. I would never do that. I would have probably been in the camp of play them the first quarter in the second game this year. That would have been my strategy, which is nothing, one quarter, and then nothing, and we're rolling. And I would have done a shiz ton of joint practice. That would have been my strategy as a coach. How much, like Christian McCaffrey, does he need to knock the rust off? No, the dude knows what it feels like to get hit. In terms of timing in your passing game or blitz pickups and things like that, there's nothing quite like a game for a quarterback. But again, it's like one of those things. And do you even care if you're rusty in week 1? Like, I know that you want to have a clean game, but does it really matter?
Everybody rusty in week 1? That's what I would say, is that no matter all the teams we look around the leagues, we always say this: defenses are ahead of offenses early in the season.
Yep.
Right. And we also, the first week of NFL football is not the sharpest offensive.
And also considering we played the Jets first, and it seems like every day they lose another defensive player. So it's like, yeah, your point's taken. If why do you need them to be full bore by week 1 or 2? Like, if anything, the Panthers kind of have a soft schedule to open up our season anyway. So yeah, I agree with you on that. 100%.
I also think, like, there's other ways to look at this. And, I was joking with somebody the other day of why not let your starters play the third quarter in game 2 and just treat it like Alabama does when they schedule bum universities.
That's actually an awesome idea.
Like, why not just take them out there and let them light up the twos, feel really good, and put up, 14 points and then pull them out and just treat it like Alabama, and all these big time schools do in the first 2 weeks. So to me, I think
fans would be going fucking nuts.
Yeah. You just sit there and
Sam Darnold's going to win us a Super Bowl.
After halftime, Sam Darnold comes in. Like, I think there's other ways that you could look at it and work through preseason to try to limit and try to make your guys as safe as possible while still giving them, there's something different about being at Bank of America Stadium with another jersey, right? There's something different about that, and you want them to get that visual. But again, we're talking about guys that get paid millions of dollars to do their job.
And they're not rookies, most of them. They're not rookies. They've been in that environment. What are your thoughts on the Teddy Bridgewater lock?
Yeah, I mean,
competition.
Because
for us, it's lock. Is that tired of Teddy Bridge? Jerry Jeudy is going to have to sit there and take a damn. He's going to have to drink a cup of coffee waiting on that football to get to him.
It's pretty crazy right now in Denver. Denver's going pretty wild about this QB comp. Here's what I'd say. And this is just only based off what he's done in Denver. I obviously watched him when he was in Carolina too, so I think I have a little more bias maybe against Teddy than most in this market.
No, you're just more informed.
Yeah. What I would tell you is both of them played well when they played with the starters. Drew, when he was with the twos, played slightly better, and Teddy really with the backup showed that willingness to get to the check down despite something else being there. So I think when you factor that in, to me, the answer is Drew. And I also think, if two guys are neck and neck, and this is kind of where I'd probably say I feel like PJ, I would lean PJ as I view when two guys are neck and neck or the skew is maybe 1 or 2%, I always go with the guy who I feel like has more upside. And I feel like Drew in Denver is that guy with upside.
Thank
you.
I
feel like if I were in Carolina, and of course I'm biased, but I feel like if you've got two backups that you feel like are somewhat even, I'd go with the guy that I feel like is going to be able to provide more explosive plays or maybe has a higher upside. So that's where I feel like the edge in Denver is for Drew. The caveat is, man, we've got Vic Fangio out here who couldn't be more old school defensive minded. He might look at Teddy and say, cool, throw the shallow all you want because we're going to only give up 6 points, which in my opinion would be a mistake when you look at our division. I think it's going to be tough to hold back Mahomes, Derek Carr, and Justin Herbert.
Yeah, there ain't no 12-point games in that division. What's interesting is Mike Zimmer's a defensive coach, right? And he's put out some great defenses in Minnesota. He came out and criticized and was critical of not being able to push the ball down the field. He said all these 5-yard passes, they work, but it's going to take 20 of them to get us there.
Yep.
And so that's a defensive coach saying that. So I don't like Tedisha. I know. Right. That's the thing. Have you gotten a chance to look at the rookie quarterbacks around the league?
Yeah.
Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've watched and graded all of them. Listen, I think Zach Wilson clearing away has been playing the best. Limited sample size, right? He's only played about 5 series, but I do think he's clearing away, taking the best. And I think the guy right now who's at the end of it is Trey Lance. And I think Trey Lance, the best way I could describe it is he's Jekyll and Hyde, because there are times where it's like, oh my God, this kid hasn't played football in 18 months. And then there are times where you go, good Lord, that was an absolute shot. So I think Trey Lance, in my opinion, is probably still a year away. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Jimmy G, for as much as people love to clown on him, he's not the worst quarterback I've ever seen on tape. So it's like they're still somewhat effective. And do you want to really turn a guy free who's actually going to be able to potentially take your offense backwards? That's the question. The thing in Chicago that's different and why I'm an advocate of turn Justin Fields free is because Andy Dalton ain't doing anything for you. So in the world in which it's like our offense goes from anemic to, hey, maybe I can make a play, go with the young guy. And that's where I think Justin Fields has done well. And then Mac Jones, man. Mac Jones it's interesting because Cam Newton traveling away from the facility, whatever the hell happened, is going to
cost him his starter job.
Yeah, is going to give this kid an opportunity. And if there's one guy who it's been proven hates when you go outside of the building, like, listen, Bill Belichick had Tom Brady. And what, by all accounts, drove the wedge between them was the fact that Tom Brady brought Alex Guerrero around.
Whoever that guy is, the wit doctor.
Yep, and that's what really like started driving the wedge. So now imagine that you're not Tom Brady with, 6 Super Bowls for Belichick, and you're Cam Newton. I could only imagine how pissed off Belichick is right now that he went away from the facility for a procedure or whatever the hell he did and then came back and now he's in COVID protocol. So that's what the thing where it's like Mac Jones, he's doing exactly what we thought he would do, which is he's limited from an arm strength perspective, but he's making good decisions in the pass and run game. And, does he all of a sudden end up winning the job there? It's fascinating, but I honestly, I can't remember a rookie class that I feel like kind of graded out this well early. And again, it's preseason.
What about Trevor? How about this? All of that. And I forgot his damn name. And the Jacksonville Jaguars were so bad on their offensive line. Trevor Lawrence, is he transcendent by like guarantee? Or is he finally running into the buzzsaw of reality of the NFL and that you don't play on a good team anymore?
I mean, I think, listen, Trevor has been a guy who is interesting to me because he's almost always been above reproach, right? Like, I was a little critical.
He don't even care about winning. Like, the dude's like this. He's like, I don't even watch
that was
football.
overblown.
Like, what the fuck? You don't watch football.
I mean, I was a little critical of him in the draft prep or in the lead up to the draft, and people were like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, here's the film. I'm not, like, talking out of my butt. I tried to break down the film so everyone could see it. I do think in reality he's facing an uphill battle. I think there's times in every game this preseason where you can see why he went number one and why people are so impressed with him. The reality is now you're on a team that's not very good. Listen, it's going to be a change for Urban Meyer too. I can't tell you a time that I remember Urban Meyer's team being bad. So I think it's going to be tough on both those guys because neither of those guys have lost very much in their career. And it's going to be a challenge this year in Jacksonville. It's not, they're not going to turn that thing around in a year. So it's going to be really interesting. I think he's played okay. I don't have him above Zach or Justin or Mac Jones, honestly, from his grade. But again, how much of that is they're not trying to show their scheme? How much of that is, the players around him? Those are all factors, but all you can do is kind of grade what's on tape. And he made some pass game decisions that weren't ideal in weeks 1 and 2.
When you fly into Charlotte this weekend or Friday, because it's a Friday night game, what are you going to tell PJ?
I'm just going to say, go. The biggest thing that me and PJ talk about, and I talk about with any of our guys, right? We have a kid at Iowa who's in a QB competition, a kid at Nebraska, is stay focused on your process. Because the worst thing we could do, and I don't want to start preaching, but the worst thing we could do as human beings as a whole is look at someone else and then start to compare our reality, right, to their highlight reel. We do it with social media all the time, right? We get on Instagram, we see a picture, and then we look and we're like, man, I'm in sweats watching Netflix, and this dude's doing something cool. That's their highlight reel. If we as humans and specifically quarterbacks just stay involved in our process, we're always going to get to better results than if we start saying, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened for PJ where Will Grier goes out there and does really well and then he presses, right? If we can do the best of our ability to get our blinders on and just know if I stay engaged in my own process, it's going to lead me to more success. It is. And I told PJ, I said, listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you. This is what I told him after the game, which was stay in your process. Don't let the outside influence come in because there was no one I saw have a better 2-play stretch than you in week 1. And if we can get that consistently, man, it can look really special on tape. So I think that's where it's going to be. And, I'm bringing my son who's 4 now. He was a newborn when PJ was, living in our basement doing draft prep. So Mac's super excited to watch Uncle PJ play because he just thinks of him as some dude who comes and stays at our house, right? He doesn't know that it's PJ Walker and how many people think he's cool. Mac thinks it's the guy who plays, Nerf guns with him in the basement. So to me, it's more of, going out there and having a little bit of fun and watching a kid. And the relationship just changes so much as a coach when you really see these guys. And I think Cody mentioned it, how much, fans pull for him. How could you not? When you hear the guy talk, he's a great kid. When you think about his story in Indianapolis, all of us can relate to a time in our life where it was like we just kept getting defeated, right? Cut, resign. We've all been through those kind of seasons. And then to see a kid go to the XFL and then come back, I think it's just something everybody can relate to. And I think that's why, and nothing against Will Grier, right? But when a guy has a story like that, a lot of fans are going to relate to it because, shoot, man, we've all been punched in the face a bunch. And then to bounce back and, it's a cool thing to watch. And I for Panther fans, right, I'm hoping they just find the best case scenario, whether it's Grier or PJ. But it's going to be fun to watch.
Is it truly possible to just stick to your process at this point? Like, because I cannot imagine how much pressure, because there's such a limited opportunity. Imagine if I went into my job, I'm 12 years being a like I teach history at a community college. If I was evaluated on one class at one moment, I would be working at the grocery store. And so like, fortunately, I think PJ's background and his experience with the XFL with other teams probably have conditioned him to be better suited for this moment. But the pressure's got to be there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, he wants this. I mean, he's out there fighting so hard. That you want, like when you go up for a job interview, you want it.
Yeah.
And you're disappointed when you don't get it. How is it possible when the lights come, when you hit, say, hike or whatever the hell you say, is it possible to mentally block that pressure out a little?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think no, it's not possible to block it all out. I think you can train yourself to be as neutral as possible in the moment, meaning, hey, I cannot change anything that's happened, and I have no idea what the heck's going to happen next, but I'm going to run the shit out of Twins Right Gun Scat Right F shit, right? And I think that's what you want to train these guys to do is be as neutral as possible. Listen, and it's not just a quarterback lesson. It's something that, our company has, 25 people that work in it now. It's something we all try to do. I try to stay neutral in the moment all the time because if I'm worried about, what people are saying on Twitter or, what the heck's happening at home with our three kiddos, right? We do a disservice to everyone. And same thing when you get home, right? If you're on your phone and not engaged with the kids, you're doing a disservice. So we try to train these guys to be as neutral as possible. Of course, when a guy goes out before you, you're going to see him do well. But I do think
I would almost sit in a locker room, man. I don't even want to see this. I got to go meditate or something.
And that's also the challenge of not only being in the quarterback competition, but just the backup role in general, right? As you start to see the flow of the game, and then all of a sudden the starter gets knocked out of the game. It's usually not under ideal circumstances. So then you're going in there and it's like, you better be neutral.
Good luck. What do you think about Matt Rule in his transition to the NFL?
Here's the thing that I'll tell you about Coach Rule. Every time that I've seen something put out on him, whether it's a Twitter little hype video or whatever, I can't help but like the guy. I feel like I'd really love to play for him. What I think the question always becomes with the college guys is how much do they struggle with the less time with the players? Because when you're in college, you get these kids all the time. You deck out. Listen, so Clemson, right? They have the barber shop. They have the video game. Why do they do that? It's not just for recruits. It's because then you incentivize the kids to be there. You know where they're at. It's like me. When my kids get older, I want our house to be the cool house. Because that way, if they're drinking beer or doing whatever, at least I know. You know what I mean? At least, hey, they're at my place and I know what they're doing versus somewhere that I don't know. So I think that's an adjustment for the college coaches who's used to knowing at Temple, I knew exactly where these guys were. At Baylor, I knew where these guys were. And now it's like I get them for work and then they head home. So I think that's going to be the challenge for him is can he continue to adapt his program and the way he builds his culture to the pro game versus the college game where he was at.
Cody, got anything else?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was wanting to say, I think the fact that PJ Walker went to Temple bodes well in his favor. It's like a well-known thing here. If you went to Baylor or if you went to Temple, Matt Rule really likes you. So we
if
think,
you were drafted by Marty Herney, he doesn't like you.
Yeah, true. So hey, all the cards are really on PJ's table right now.
Well, it's not even just that. It's even like number one, Will Grier has a loss in the regular season for the Panthers, and PJ Walker has a win for the Panthers.
Yep.
And on top of that, I think most people prefer, in the fandom of the Carolina Panthers, prefer PJ over Will. So even if there is a slight edge from the skill set or whatever they're looking for, I think they also have to look at the marketability of the guy as well. And if you pick Will Grier, you're going to have a lot of people very unhappy.
But the other thing too is that the Panthers, the big question mark is not whether or not who's winning these jobs. It's how the hell is our offensive line going to be this year? And at the very best, we're thinking we want if our offensive line is average or above average, we're in good damn shape. But there's a good chance it's not that. Yeah. And all of a sudden, PJ gives you some opportunity. Yep. And like you said, when the backup comes in, it's not usually in good circumstances.
Yeah, and that's kind of where what I would come at it from, which is, listen, if the backup's coming in, he probably hasn't gotten that many reps. So are we going to really feel like he's going to run the timing of this offense well, or are we just hoping, hey, he can get in there and make some, for lack of a better movie reference, some Willie Beeman-like plays, right? To go out there like any given Sunday and see if we can figure out a way to make this thing happen. So, but I do think I think Carolina. The thing that's nice, and this is specifically because he's my client, right? The thing that's nice is PJ's done enough to where I'm not worried about him getting an opportunity in the NFL, right? If it doesn't work out in Carolina. So from that aspect, it makes me a little more comfortable as a coach. With that being said, I'd love for him to be in Carolina. He just got a place there. He loves it. He, like, every time I'm out there, or every time
and
he's
he knows
out in Denver,
Rule. He knows Rule, man.
Yeah.
He knows Matt Rule, and Matt Rule likes him.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, we've held Tim. Tim has been so gracious with his time. I heard you had 8,000 subscribers now on YouTube.
Yeah,
you should have 28,000 subscribers with the work you do on those. I feel like I'll sit there with my popcorn and just like a notebook taking notes. Cody, any final questions for Tim before we let him go, or else we'll keep him all night?
No, I just want to thank Tim and encourage everyone to look at his channel. I loved all your breakdowns on the draft prospects coming out. And listen, I'm a Clemson fan, so and I even agree with your criticisms of Trevor too. So. I definitely appreciate you coming on. I love the insight from the quarterback position. That's part of the reason why I love football. That commander general position, having to read the defense, having to have the arm and the guts to make every throw. I love it. I think you do tremendous work. And everybody check out Tim, man.
I appreciate
and your brother is actually, this is a longtime person in the chat room. But I'm gonna call him your brother because his last name is Jenkins.
Oh, I love it.
He said this. Let me hear you say it. Witness the Walker Wonder. He always calls
Witness the Walker Wonder. I love it. I love it, John. Hey, guys, I appreciate you.
Tell us how they can tell everybody where they can find not only Jenkins Elite, but also the YouTube breakdowns and all the stuff you're going to do. Like, you're going to come in and you're going to probably do one on Sam Darnold, and we're going to pump it up for you next week.
I might have to just do a weekly breakdown and then come on here and BS with you guys once a week. So
we're down for it, man. We're down for it.
Homie.
The YouTube channel is All Things QB, and I've been starting to try to do two different breakdowns. One like off the TV copy that's like a little shorter and maybe for a fan who is interested in the X's and O's but not really that interested, and then one on the coach's tape that's really in depth and trying to talk people through concepts. So you can follow on there, or you can follow me on Twitter, and I try to answer as many questions as I can. Lately, it's been the mentions are tough at times. So if it's a little toxic, so I try to not look at it. But you know, I try to answer any actual football questions. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
How dare you be an expert in this field and talk about quarterbacks that are actually have their tape being shown and everything you're saying be validated by that? Come on now.
Yeah, I always laugh because, you know, recently on my Twitter timeline, people have gone from vaccine experts to foreign policy experts to quarterback experts. I wonder how everyone has the time, but we're all here. So I appreciate you guys.
Hey, Tim, you have a good one, buddy.
Tim, you've been a fantastic guest. You're welcome anytime, and we will probably bug you more than you want.
Hey, I can't wait. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, you have a great night. That's Tim Jenkins, all things quarterback. Follow him at Tim Jenkins, T Jenkins Elite. Wow, man. You know what is not only is he just a cool guy, right? Is just a straight cool. How about that? He gave us almost 45 minutes, over 45 minutes.
Super cool guest, really nice, but also you love it when the guest is just super knowledgeable and they know what they're talking about and they can provide
they say they'll come back.
Yeah, and they like us. They don't think that we're a bunch of dickheads. Yeah, he's cool, man. Yeah, especially someone like that can give genuine insight to a very important, very talked about player on our football team. So yeah, love Tim Jenkins. We'll definitely be having him on. I'm sure he'll break down some Sam Darnold film on his channel at some point in time, and we'll have him back to talk then, man. Great to hear from Tim.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up because I want to make sure I get it perfect. This is I'm dropping this link in the chat right now. This is straight to my man's Twitter page. His handle is T Jenkins Elite on Twitter. I want all of y'all in the chat to go say, I loved Tim Jenkins, all things quarterback on the C3 Panthers podcast. Can't wait to hear him again. Go do that. It's free. It's free. And you know what? That'll bring mugs back. That will bring 100%. Back that you like them. Because we like everybody. The chat needs to do that. Go follow Tim Jenkins. Say, we loved your talk on the C3 Panthers podcast. Can't wait to hear you again. That'll help us a ton.
And real quick, I didn't want to interrupt our guest, but we have to give a big shout out to Grim Reaper for a $10 love bomb that he sent to us and keep pounding C3. And then Ken Folk NC sent us $20 and just no message, just showing love. So shout out to the homies for showing love and support to what we're doing here, man. And click the like and subscribe if you like the content that we're putting out, man.
Look at Isaac. Look at Isaac Irvin, CK. He said, we trust in Rap Mule. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's go to the next cat call. You can be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast because every Tuesday night we get up here and we don't shut the F up about the Panthers. Whether we're right, wrong, we always love them and we always hate them at the same time. 252-228-5098. And fuck Tadisha in the.
This is Jim calling in from San Diego. Calling you guys on my break here. Wanted to touch in with you guys really quick before my next Zoom meeting. But what do you guys think of the Robbie Anderson extension, man? We've seen a lot of mixed reviews on Twitter, and I personally think people are kind of freaking out for no reason. I think Scott Fitterer did a hell of a job with the signing. I think the numbers are fantastic. They're team friendly, and I think it's for the right amount of time. When you think about it, we're going to pay Robbie now, and then by the time his contract expires, we'll have Terrace and Shai Smith ready to go for their contract. So I think this is perfect. Like, we're getting a bargain for what we have, and it also doesn't affect DJ Moore's potential contract coming up. Scott Fitt even mentioned that, so I think we should be pretty excited, man. We have a hell of a chance to have a core base for our offense of some of the best weapons we've seen probably ever in our young history. So we got nothing to look up to, nothing but success to look up to, honestly, man. I think Sam Darnold's probably gonna have a great year. He has no excuses, so it's all on him at this point. But yeah, man, if that defense comes out firing like they have in the preseason, man, I think playoffs is the first step for us. I think we should be in the conversation for playoffs. But I just wanted to see your guys' opinion on that. Looking forward to the show tonight. Also want to give some kudos to Scott Fitterer. I think he's becoming one of my favorite members of this front office. I love Phil Snow. I think he's doing a hell of a job. He's probably our best coach. But other than that, I think Scott Fitterer has probably been the best addition to this team or to this organization in a long time. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, man. Looking forward to watching you guys later tonight. But go Panthers, keep pounding. Peace.
Keep pounding, man. And real quick, shout out to our boy, the man that was here with the $20 love bomb. Shout out C3 fam. Keep pounding. Hey, we appreciate you, sir.
Much
love, man. Listen, I feel like every week I get messages from people who are hitting me up and telling me how much they love the show. I know, Chad Morales tagged us on Twitter, talking about how much he loved listening to us. So, listen, we love that you guys love the content. We do it for y'all. We love doing this right here, man. We do it for y'all. And we do it for these Carolina Panthers, man. We all come together and support our team. And you gotta love it,
do
man.
that, folks. Do that. If you listening to the show on a podcast later on, if you check it out on YouTube, that shout out on Twitter makes our day. I'll be retweeting that, you know what I mean? Like, and that's another way to turn people onto the show.
100%, man. 100%. To answer the caller's question, we talked a little bit about Robbie earlier. Overall, I'm happy with the deal. I'm happy with it because I really think that if we're going to pay a receiver, that receiver needs to be DJ Moore. But I'm not happy with a 2-year deal that's basically $14 million and some change. I think we're going to be able to move on from it fairly well after his time is up. But again, I think he's an important part of the Panthers' offensive identity and what they want to be this year on offense, and just having that aggressive downfield vertical attack. I think Robbie Anderson is pivotal to that. So, also knowing that he was going to be a free agent after this year, if you sign him now, you show him some love and say, hey, look, we're building something, and we think that you're a very important part of it, and we want you to be a leader in this locker room. He also mentioned in his interview today that Sam Darnold being the quarterback was a big reason of him staying here. It's a quarterback that he's comfortable with, that he believes in, and he really does think that Sam Darnold is going to have a big year this year. So that guy plays on the same team as Sam. He catches footballs from Sam. I'm entitled to believe him. And as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't stop us from signing DJ Moore later on down the road.
Exactly.
I didn't think I would be in favor of re-signing Robbie Anderson, but yeah, I think this is a really good deal.
How about this? Is that it might not be the great, we could go back in the future and look at this and say we sank a little bit too much into a number 2 receiver. We could have maybe found a Marvin Jones or something on free agency that could do it for 7, but it's also not the worst, right? And what I mean by that is, DJ actually produced, man. Like, give Robbie Anderson some fucking credit for producing last season
over 1,000 yards.
I know I've said it 10 times on this show already. He produced in an offense that was not suited for him,
right?
And that's kind of the ultimate team player there is they asked him to go over the middle and shit because Teddy couldn't throw it deep, so that was about, and he held up, and I understand why he wants to get paid. Not the worst deal. And I love that he wears number 11. I think I'm buying the jersey. All right, let's go to the next call.
Yo guys, it's Nick. How's
What's
it
up,
going?
Nick?
Happy Tuesday.
My Friday free-for-all co-host.
Too bad that we aren't having a show on Friday, but figured I'd weigh my thoughts on Week 2 preseason game and the Robbie Anderson signing. Week 2 preseason game was abysmal. The fact that we didn't get a single touchdown, it's pretty terrible. Now, I didn't watch the second half, and after seeing the score, I'm happy that I didn't. But PJ being 1 for 8 or 1 for 10, however many snaps he played, like that's ridiculous.
He was off. He was off.
I need to go back and watch the tape, but I mean, we've always said that PJ hasn't necessarily been the most accurate. It's almost like we have two Joey Slies on the team. We have a Joey Sly as a kicker, and then a Joey Sly as a backup quarterback.
Oh,
and that's just not going to work.
That's a dagger right there.
I've been the biggest PJ supporter out there, but if he has a showing like that in the third preseason game, the dude's as good as gone.
Yeah, he can't afford that.
I guess I have been wrong. I guess this might be Will Grier's last year. I mean, Cody would have to double check, but I thought Will Grier might have had one more year after this. But if this is his last year, I wouldn't expect him to stay on the roster after this year either. At least I don't think he deserves it. But last thing is the Robbie Anderson signing. I'm honestly not a fan of it. I feel like DJ should have been signed first. DJ deserved it. And I mean, I get the connection between Matt Rule and Robbie, but I'm not a fan of the signing, especially not for the amount of money. I feel like that was a lot of money, and now it's going to hurt us in the long run as far as who we can sign. You got to think we're coming up on getting ready to sign Brian Burns. I know it's another year or two out, but I mean we got some key players that we're going to have to sign. And on top of that, a lot of the signings that we did this offseason, we pushed all the money into next year.
We got time with DJ.
I know we don't have too many multi-year players that we signed, but we pushed a lot of the money between restructuring and the new signs into next year, and that's going to hurt us in the long run. So I'm not really a huge fan. I mean, I like Robbie, but I hope he comes to like the grass that we play on, because I know you weren't a big fan of us swapping up the turf. But
which he should, because he's track star. Great. Nick, you know what is that? I've been kind of rooting for the Robbie. I've liked Robbie Anderson a lot since he got here. But I think he brings some valid points up. Right. I mean, and it's fair. They're fair points. Is we did sink some significant costs into this. I think the good news is the length of the deal. Right. Is that you're getting a guy who you're saying you've done a lot for us. We're trying to take care of you too. And he is not going to, as long as his fear is probably getting hurt this year and going and laying it out all on the line and then being tossed to the wayside. Now he can kind of go lay it out on the line and feel comfortable about eating next year. So, but I do think he brings up a lot of good points, but DJ Moore, we got some time with him. We have the luxury of time. One of the things I did want to bring up before we go to the next call, Cody, did your side of your lips touch your ears when Tim Jenkins said this is feast or famine for Sam Darnold?
Oh yeah, dude, because I've been saying this for how long now, that there is no mediocrity to this Panther football team this year. It's either gonna boom or it's going to bust. And I think he shares that same sentiment. I think it's either going to go really well or it's going to go really bad. Hey, once again, shout out to the man that was here for another $5. Thank you, man. He says we draft all D, might be an old convo, while O-line especially needed work. Thoughts on that? Well, I kind of, when talking about this, I go back to something that Dave Gettleman once said, and all of his Gettleman-isms, is that you're just not ever going to have a bunch of depth at every position on your football team. The 53-man roster basically prohibits it. So as a coaching staff, while you're drafting and while you're going through free agency, inevitably you're going to come out in the other end with a position group or two that just aren't going to have a lot of good depth at those positions. Right now, those positions for us are left tackle and frankly, a few positions on our linebacking core. So, I really do think that our offensive line, the formation that we march out week 1 is not going to be what we finish the season with. And I don't think the one that we start with is going to be the best iteration of our offensive line. Meaning we're probably going to have to go through some bumps and bruises before we realize truly what player goes where. That goes back to Matt Rule and his I-85 comparison. But I'm overall, I really like how we've drafted. That's been my favorite part of Scott Fitterer and what he's done for us is the players that he has brought
the
in.
all defense draft was under Marty Herney. And to be honest, is that it was kind of bizarre in one way, but in another way, it was a massive reform of the defense in a quick moment, right? Is that we got old and slow on defense real fast. And this is where, and this can happen overnight to teams, and it happened to us from like 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2019. All of a sudden, they're handing out walkers, it felt like, and you just look slow. So that was like a radical surgery we did last year by doing all defense. But I don't believe that if Fitterer is here, we probably would do all. No, it was a radical surgery. It was an experimental surgery. And I hope his drafting turns out to be fantastic, because right now everybody's super excited about these draft picks, right? And I do think that there's not a large potential for bust on JC. Like JC Horn is probably not going to bust unless he just gets injured, right? And that would be the only way. It seems like he's got all the tools to be just a beast. And Terrace, walk out on the Terrace Marshall Jr. So right now, those two players give you such a luxury to make this draft great no matter what.
Yeah. By the way, Albert Grier put out some tweets today pertaining to the Panthers, and he actually mentioned 5 things, and a lot of what you just said was on there. He said, number 1, Christian McCaffrey looks like he's 100% back, which is huge for Sam Darnold, who made progress, seeming to feel better, faster with coaches tailoring the O to him. Number 2 was rookie Terrace Marshall. His ceiling is tremendously high. He's big and he's excelled on contested catches. His number 3 point was the guy that you just mentioned. J.C. Horn is as advertised. Nothing's too big for him. He's playing with edge and fire. But he may not be the only rookie contributing big on D. Keep an eye out for defensive tackle Davion Nixon, who we have all been saying is a guy that could surprise a lot for us this year. Then a surprise mentioned by him is he says, Yatur Gross Matos looks like he's grown up. Should help take pressure off of Burns and Reddick. And this is a guy I've been hopeful for a long time. That he could start up and, be that defensive end opposite of Brian Burns, and he could really hold it down on that side. His final take was Jets cast off Frankie Luvu emerged as a camp dark horse, and the Panthers could use his help at linebacker. That spot and left tackle are probably the 2 biggest question marks on what's a much deeper, more talented roster than the team had last year. So, Tony, there are definitely those in the media who do think that we have the potential to be a very good team this year. Certainly better than last.
It's all going to be about, the NFL is all about injuries and depth, right? Is that if you could trot out your players and they did what you thought on paper all year, then everybody would be great. The problem is people get hurt, things don't go your way, and you need other guys to step in and excel when their number is called. So 252-228-5098, that's our number.
My podcast brothers, how y'all doing? G.
What's up, G?
What up, G?
I haven't called in a while, but hey, I've been busy, Hey, man, I watched.
It's all love, bro.
So, man, when we faced the Ravens, man, and to me, we look decent and everything, and I'm not getting all bent out of shape for a preseason game or that Colts game. 2 preseason games. It's just preseason. So Panther fans, calm the hell down.
That's right.
New Orleans Saints fans, I see y'all on Facebook and shit talking about, oh, Jameis Winston, he looks really good. Calm the fuck down.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about that.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. I'm really excited about the Perryman signing, that dude that came from the Chargers, Perryman, but this dude cannot stay healthy. Jermaine Carter has stepped up. We still got Shaq Thompson back there, you know, and that one dude that we got from the Jets, Luvu, whatever his damn name is. Hey, man, my question to you guys is, if Perryman cannot go, who do you see playing the middle linebacker? You think it'll be Carter? You think it'll be Luvu? I seriously doubt they'll put Shaq in the middle. I don't know. Give me a take on that, fellas. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. I mean,
Luvu's the name, bro. Luvu's like all of a sudden an exciting name, and I think it's Jermaine Carter Jr.'s time to do what Mike Davis did last year.
I mean, Matt Rule confirmed it. He confirmed it today that Jermaine Carter Jr. is indeed our starting Mike linebacker. So, I mean, there really isn't too much to worry about. I don't expect too much of anything from Denzel Perryman this year. If I'm being frank, and I know we don't want to hear this, and I know this is going to be a very unpopular take, but, dude, he could end up being another tired Whitehead, man. Like, especially if he's never going to see the field. Like, how is he even getting meaningful reps to know where his body is supposed to be on a given play if he's not even out there playing enough? Like, if we're going to see anything from this man, it isn't going to be anytime soon. So, yeah, it's probably my least favorite signing that the Panthers have made thus far. And it's between him and Cam Irving. But still, we still have to see what they do. I did want to bring up the Saints with y'all. Did either of you look at any of the highlights or look at anything that happened last night from the
No, but I told
Saints
you Taysom Hill was a
game?
bum the whole time, and it turns out that was true.
Okay, so one, hold off on the bum shit. Number two, I'm going to go back to what Tim Jenkins said, that a lot of it is who's playing with the ones, who's playing with the twos, okay? And I think that plays a lot into it too. But also, Jameis Winston, he definitely opens up that deep ball for them. And my thing is this. I think that we need to have a discussion about the New Orleans Saints, because as much as we might not want to say it out loud, I kind of don't think that this team is going to just be another rebuilding football team that we're all expecting them to be this year. Just another team kind of in flux in the NFC South. They have a damn good offensive line. They still have Cam Jordan. They still have Marshawn Lattimore. I think that we would be remiss to already start to assume that we're going to play them in week 2 and we're just going to walk all over them. I think that they're going to be stiff competition.
To even say that. I've just been kind of trying to speak it into existence that the Saints are going to get old quick. It happened to us. I just want it to happen to them.
Yeah, we all want that to happen.
You know, they've been in the second spot, first, 3 years in a row now? Tired of it. I'm ready for the drop-off.
I mean, they may look good, but you also got to keep in mind they have a lot in flux, and they're paying, a lot of high money for a lot of their players, and they're in purgatory, as far as cap.
They do voodoo. They do cap voodoo. The cap do, but
at some point you got to pay the piper, and eventually they're going to run into that buzzsaw. And I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I think that the moment this is such a mental game at quarterback, and I'm sure Tim Jenkins would probably agree to this. Like when you look at Jameis histories, or Jameis Winston's history, you're gonna see a history of somebody who's confident, and then once he loses that confidence, it's all out the door. Like he just throws pick after pick. I mean, he could come out and just blow it up, right? He could very well be the guy who never had a shot, and all of a sudden now he's showing up and showing out. He could be the next Tom Brady, winning 6 Super Bowls. Who knows? But I don't see that pedigree in Jameis Winston. And honestly, I just see somebody who's goofy, who's never going to be taken seriously as a competitor with his teammates.
I'm never going to take him serious. But one of the interesting things and I'm going to go watch all these because on the Game Pass, you can watch all of them. But I was hearing this is that, and this is the scary part, is that the Saints are looking like the old Saints. Chunk plays. You know what I mean? Is that they beat our ass for the last 3 years, and they've done it with 5-yard passes. They've done it with basically Teddy Bridgewater. Right. Now you're talking about bringing back like a 2012 version of the Saints. I don't want to mess with that.
No, man. So listen, that gives us extra incentive to put our best foot forward. I've said multiple times now that everyone on this team has a ton to prove, and no one can rest on their laurels, man. Everyone has to come out and play big boy football if we're ever going to be taken seriously in this division ever again.
All right, let's go to the next call. The number's 252-228-5098.
Hey, guys, it's Joey.
Joey?
And, I just wanted to say that, and you guys were just talking about marketability, that, you know, fans prefer PJ over Will, which most of them do. I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, yes, Will Grier does have a loss. PJ has a win. But the thing you also have to realize is that all fans really want is to win. And you also have to realize, if you're a coach, make what you feel is the right decision, because if you win, fans will start, you know, to say it in a way that Tony would understand. Fans will start sucking your D if you started winning, no matter what you do. So
that's a long-term fan of the
podcast.
That. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Oh, and Tim Jenkins said he was going to be there. I'm going to be there on Friday, too.
Oh.
Wow.
I was about to take a low blow at you there, Joey.
Joey's in the chat room right now, man. Just sitting here chatting with the boys.
All right, so what was it? It escaped me. Go ahead.
I mean, listen, I'm at the point right now where I'm excited to see what this team is going to do against Pittsburgh. Again, like we're kind of grasping for straws here. We really don't know too much about how our starting offense looks.
Right.
We want to see more, man. We're so close. Guys, this Friday is the last preseason football game of the year. Then we got meaningful football, baby. Panthers are back. Dude, it's that time of year, man. I'm just ready for this whole thing to start. I'm ready to put these questions to bed about left tackle and how Sam looks. I want to start seeing.
Hey, we're Panther fans. You ain't ever putting the left tackle position to bed. The day that happens, we should. We're like that.
Let me dream, man. Let me dream.
It'll be like Cephas being positive. And I think it was John Jenkins that said my favorite comment of the night was marketability for Will Grier. His hair and his beard don't match.
Hey,
listen. Have me rolling. Traveling 9 hours for his first game, September 12th. 9 hours. That's you better stay overnight, number one. Actually, you got to stay 2 nights, right? You got to come the day before on a 9-hour joint, and then you got to leave. Hardest part about going to a game for me is it's a 4-hour drive, and you have to do it it's a day and a half at the minimum. Like if you, I mean, it's possible to leave in the morning and come back at night. It's such an awful day, but I usually go on Saturday and have to come back after the game and try to make work on Monday, and that's miserable too. Also, pro tip, Grizzy B. If you got a game ticket, you get into the strip club free on Sunday night.
Hey, there you go. C3's looking out for you, baby. All the time. Shout out to Grizzly B, man. Happy you could join us in the chat.
All right, let's go to the next call.
Hi, guys. This is Steve from Myrtle Beach. How you guys doing?
Steve, how are you?
I have 2 points I want to mention today. One is, of course, the signing of Robbie. I think it's a great move. He reminds me he has the role, in my opinion, of what Ted Ginn Jr. used to have. He's not getting paid too much, and he's been very reliable, and he could definitely play the deep game. I know he had a lot of his success crossing over and everything, but that could be more DJ's thing. And I just think he's a good role model also for the other receivers. So I think it's a great deal to have Robbie 2 more years and this year coming up, of course. My second thing is that I remember when everybody made a big deal about number 88 being given out too early to another player and disrespect, etc. But the way number 88's been playing, Terrace is looking good, man. I haven't heard any complaints about number 88 now at this point. So I guess people are kind of happy now. That's it, guys. You all have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, I got no problem, man. I'm not like, I don't get the number thing. Unless that, you know what, I'm gonna say this is I ain't even ready to retire a number in Carolina until we got a Super Bowl. Like whoever gets me the Super Bowl, that number goes in, then I'll retire it. But like, are we really gonna just retire everybody we love?
No, and I was watching Hard Knocks the other night, and CeeDee Lamb is wearing number 88 for the Cowboys, and of course that's
Irvin.
Yeah, that's Michael Irvin. That's Des Bryant. One other famous receiver that they've had apparently. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty much going to have to do that. I mean, especially as this Panther football team grows accolades and continues to, hopefully win some meaningful championships and have some players that ascend to that, that level. Yeah, we're going to have to. I would say maybe just treat them with respect. Like, you have to be a damn good player to be able to wear a certain number. You know what I mean?
I guess they put them in the Hall of Honor, right? Like, it's having their bus, whatever that. What is it? They put the banners up at CK when we go in the stadium.
Yeah.
The banners.
Like, that's enough. That's enough. There's only so many. Like, we can't retire everybody's jersey. Especially when you went, like, and I think Steve Smith is the number one number that would be thoughtful, like 89, 1, and 90 are the numbers. And then
59.
Because everybody likes to virtue signal, we'll do the Sam, help me out,
Arnold?
Sam Mills.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Sam Mills. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's almost because people, and look, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like them, but it's like, I feel like it's just so easy to be like, we love whatever because of the situation. What I'm saying is this is like, I'm not retired. I want to retire whoever the MVP of the Super Bowl winning game is. I'll retire that motherfucker's number.
Yeah, I mean, everybody says 89. That's the number. But like you mentioned, we haven't had a player win the Super Bowl yet. So, I mean, I don't know. I think there's very few numbers that you could retire on this team. To me, it's 3 of them, but we've had this discussion a whole bunch of times.
The man that was here is right, is that we've done more in 27 years than other teams have in the common era. Like the Falcons.
Oh, yeah.
No, we've actually been very successful for a young franchise.
Yeah.
Right. But we have to get the chip, man. We got to get the trophy. We got to get the Lombardi. Right. Or else we're just going to be, we don't want to be the Jag. I mean, the Jags had some early success too, but not to our level though, not Super Bowl stuff. Look at that. Retire 3 for the C3 part. I love this.
Hey,
I love y'all. Man, way to make me feel good. Way to make me feel good while my wife's mad at me. 252.
Hey guys, Chuck from Louisville City.
Chuck, my man.
A few quick thoughts here. Robbie Anderson getting the extension today. I kind of feel this is, you take this year, he was going to be done. Give him 2 more years, a little bit more money than I liked. But they kind of front loaded. They had money to do it for this year, so it kind of takes some of the funding off for next year and the year after. Now, thing is, I think DJ Moore is more important. And we could actually, if we don't get a contract agreement with him, we could put a franchise tag on him next year. And if we do that and try to work out a deal, maybe we can let Robbie go the year after next. Maybe we can have an out there. But this kind of does leave us, at least if DJ outplays himself and hits the market, we do still have depth at receiver. Now, I hope and pray we do find a kicker to replace Fly because he sucks.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for one more lineman. And the one thing that kills me, it doesn't look like this Fletcher guy is going to be the long snapper. that he's probably going to get cut and make the practice squad. And J.J. Jensen's going to be back. 4 picks after Fletcher. Trey Smith, the offensive guard from Tennessee, was taken by the Chiefs. Right now they're saying he's the best offensive lineman they got. We could have used him even if he was a guard for depth, because after about 10 guys, I don't see the last 3 on the roster right now worth a damn. And we definitely got to be looking for a linebacker, because Perriman can't cut it. We better find one. Other than that, I feel pretty good about the defensive backs. I feel pretty good about where we're heading. Quarterback's a little iffy with Grier and P.J. Walker, but maybe we can kind of merge them together and make one number 2 quarterback. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Brought the fire tonight, Chuck. Fantastic call. And this is, to me, I think one of the issues when it comes to having all these picks is that I'm okay with us like stockpiling picks for trade stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like we're going to give you 2 5s, 2 3s, 2 2s, and we're going to get a 1, a 2 or something. And we're going to move whatever it is. These 7th round picks are half the time they're already on the bubble. Actually, 3/4 of the time they're on the bubble right from the bat, right from the get off. And why you draft that guy if you don't really think there's a real competition? I guess all right, so he goes to the practice squad. He might survive this year. J.J. Jansen retires. Man, that's a long game, but he's right. And the 4-man rush people will be clapping for this call probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, also, I know the name probably doesn't ring a bell to you, but Trey Smith, he's a guard out of Tennessee. He ended up falling because of an injury concern, I think. Maybe some off-the-field stuff, too. But I just remember watching the dude's film, and I had him ranked in my top 100 players in the draft. Like, the guy was an absolute mauler. I loved what he did up front. And, yeah, we took a long snapper over that guy. And he's like one of the starting linemen for the Chiefs right now, looking incredible, beating people up on the inside. So, again, it's like we're going to do this for a long time with Rashawn Slater and Justin Fields and all these different players that we're going to shoulda, coulda, woulda about. Again, I just think that the guys that we drafted are going to pull out for us, and they're going to do a lot of good things this year. We just have to give it some time and wait for it to coalesce, and I think it will.
All right, next call.
Yo, what's happening, C3?
Man, long time.
It's your boy Zero, your boy QT Zero out here in Cali, just giving you a heads up. I'm fucking with the deal that went down today. We pretty much re-signed the homie for the exact same shit that we didn't give him in the first place, which was supposed to be a fucking prove-it deal, which is still just a continuing prove-it deal for another couple years, just to let this motherfucker sit in stone in case if we even feel like trading him still to get a first and possibly a second-round pick if he is the blow-up. You know what I'm saying? Bro, it's just an amazing deal that got right. Trade Daddy's the GOAT, man. I'm just going to say it right here, right then. That guy knows what the fuck he is doing.
Trade Daddy.
Find our fucking skill positions, man. Like, man, I fuck with this dude so tough. Like, man, it just does not cease to fucking to impress me. Like, goddamn, there's something else I had to holler about him. I'm high, goddamn.
Don't worry, he's coming back for more. Here, we'll go to the next call. It's him again.
Oh yeah. All right, so that's what it was, bro. So, we all know this motherfucking this cap space is just getting up, and all that's gonna mean is motherfuckers gonna get paid more and more. You never know, an average ass motherfucking wide receiver is gonna start getting paid $20 fucking million a year. You know what I'm saying? We getting this motherfucker on 10 to 15 each motherfucking year.
Call breaking up, and there's a third one in the hole, but that kind of goes back to if you like a player, why wait?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and this was my argument for Taylor Moton all along. We should have gotten this done a year earlier. And it's cheaper. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's cheaper because you beat the inflation. Right. Everything's inflating, no matter what. It's going to go up. I mean, think about what it is. And you know, the one time we did this right was with Cam Newton. We signed Cam Newton a year earlier than we had to in 2015, before the 2015 season. It goes out and buys fucking NFL MVP. Everybody's like, oh, he's going to get paid. He's going to get it. But we got Cam on that $20 million deal, that $18 million deal. So it was so cheap that 3 years later, they cut him and signed another quarterback for the same damn price. They didn't even save money. They threw away money and then signed. You know what I'm saying? So you can. This is why Aaron Rodgers tries to put and I don't know if he ever successfully got it into his contract, but it was the awesomest thing I ever heard. And it was like, every time a quarterback gets paid more than me, a clause in my contract kicks in to where I can renegotiate.
Yeah.
Because that you're the highest paid player until you're not.
Yeah, you know? And that's what I feel like that's what a lot of these players are doing now too. Like, as soon as someone gets paid more than a few years down the road, faster than what their contract would dictate, they're already asking to renegotiate and get repaid. I call that the Julio Jones. I feel like Julio Jones would sign a new contract, and then the very next year would ask for more money and want to be paid even more than it was.
Darrell Revis, man, that dude was a master, bro. This motherfucker would be like, you know what? Just put me on the franchise tag. I'm gonna go ball out, and he would sign. That dude made more money than anybody. And his uncle was a free agent that the Panthers overpaid. We paid a boatload of money. It was Gilbert. Chat room, help me out. We got Revis's uncle was Gilbert. Gilbert from the Washington Redskins. And that was like in 1998 or 99. We paid a ton of money. That dude, that's another dude. Where you think Revis got his lessons from? And family lessons on how to get the money. And you know what? I don't got no problem. Get that money.
Is it Sean Gilbert?
Yes, Sean Gilbert. That was it.
Yeah.
All right. Last call.
One more thing before we go. Spectre One Actual says Codizzle the GOAT. Much love from Down Under, lads. Appreciate you, Spectre, for that $10 love bomb. Codizzle is the GOAT.
It's been a productive show. All right, last call tonight.
All right, Tony. You already know, fam. I'm with you on this fucking boat, too. I get all the criticism from all the shit I be calling in, all my Carolina folks I be talking to. I get all the same fucking criticism, bro. I'm on the same fucking boat. Leave them boys sitting on the fucking bench and don't let it motherfucking make no chance until it's a week motherfucking game where the game matters. This is a negative week 3. You know what I'm saying? Or negative week 1. You know, it's not week 1 yet. God damn it. You see ETN, that boy fucked off for the season. And dumbass Lawrence gonna try to jump over 3 motherfuckers and damn near fuck his whole shit off for the rest of his life when this game don't matter.
Yep. I'm with QT on this.
So it's dumb that motherfuckers want to risk their career on a game that don't matter when it's a game for motherfuckers that's trying to get on the roster. Not a game to prove who you are because we a fan and I'm a fan and I just want to see this shit. Yeah, I want to see this shit, but keep my fandom out of it, business-wise, marketing aspect-wise. That motherfucker should sit on the bench. Horn should sit on the bench. Motherfucker, every motherfucking team should sit on the bench. My baby mama called me though. All right, Joe.
Yeah, man. Like, isn't that the argument, man? It's like we all want to see these players. We want to see Sam. We want to see JC. Right. We want to see, like, we're ready for football to start. Yeah, it's like,
that's what I told my friend. It's selfish. You want to see them to
scratch our own
feel
itch.
Better.
Yes,
to make you
100%.
Feel better. I do think that. I mean, theoretically, you could see a world where you played your starters in the preseason, like 1 series in week 2 and 3 series in week 3. And you know what? In the first 8 minutes of the game on week 1, that's knocked off. I just don't know if the pluses you get out of it are what I would say is this, is that my real question to all of these people is that if you played a team that played their starters one full quarter of the third preseason game and you didn't play yours at all, how much of a competitive advantage do they truly get in week one? And if it's significant, then if you truly believe it's significant, then I'm all for it. But I don't know if it's really that much.
I don't believe it is. Keep in mind, last year, the year as far as how much points NFL teams were putting up was way higher than people expected it to be during COVID when there was no OTAs, there was no preseason. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't really think it's too necessary to really make sure that your team is ready to fire on all cylinders come time to play week one. I think that you're running a tremendous risk. I mean, look, I'm going to be happy that I'm
disadvantage, right? Like getting them some game reps is not a disadvantage.
Sure.
I just truly don't know if it makes them that much more prepared.
Yeah, if the risk is worth the reward, which is 100% fair. And I'm also, I'm excited. It makes me more excited for the game because I know that we are going to see all these players and we're going to have a shitload to talk about. Which, by the way, we're definitely doing our post-game show Friday after the game. Be sure you check us out. And, yeah, we're going to be reacting to all of it. We're waiting to see what Sam looks like. Everybody wants to see what Joe Brady is going to cook up, how we look in the red zone, and whether or not we practice it or
Wait
not.
till week one for that shit. Don't even worry about it this week. CK, are those Cool Ranch?
Nah, dude. They're just regular.
Regular? Like nacho cheese? Oh, they're like straight plain tortilla chips. I got you from the Mexican joint. Did you get it Uber Eats?
Yeah.
No sponsorship here for them, jerks, but you can sponsor us by smashing the thumbs up button, subscribing to the show, checking us out on all the major podcasting outlets, wherever the hell you get it. iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google, whatever. You can find us Tuesday nights, Friday nights, Thursday, Saturday. We're about to be all over the place. I'm about to call people. I almost called you up, Cody. I was like, I didn't have nothing to do. I was like, you just want to watch every play of JC Horn and talk about it. It's like I was going to do something like that. Like, anyway, that's the C3 Panthers podcast. A great guest tonight, Tim Jenkins. The last segment of the show, since we've talked about all the news and notes you could possibly think of. We didn't talk about I was going to talk about the Steelers, what we want to see. Actually, I'll ask you one question. Each of you gets to say one thing. What's one thing you want to see against the Steelers week 3 or final preseason game?
One thing in particular I'll say is I want to see Dan Arnold. I want to see the same connection that we've been hearing about in training camp. Is that Sam Darnold has apparently made a really good connection with Dan Arnold. Darnold to Arnold is what we're all ready to love and type in the chat and type on Twitter. So I'll be interested to see if that same connection transfers over to game day. And again, it might seem boring, but I swear I'm looking at most of the same players all the time. I want to continue to see improvement from Brady Christensen and Deontay Brown because I believe they're going to be starting for us at some point this year. I want to see more from Frankie Luvu and Arturo Gross-Matos. I want to continue to see improvement from these guys because I think they've done a good job at showing decent improvement just in these 2 preseason games. So I just want to see that continued trend. And obviously Sam, that's all of our picks. Like we all want to see Sam. We all want to see Sam play well. I think that's a given too. So,
right. CK, anything you're looking for?
I mean, right now, I think it's going to be a matter of how this defense is going to handle a seemingly rejuvenated Big Ben, who is going to be able to read
touchdowns.
Who's going to be able to read the defense with apparently a very explosive running back now. Hey, I really think you got to keep in mind too, we're going to be going against the Steelers, who have some of the best defenses out there. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And if this offensive line starts to break down, to see how this coaching staff decides to handle the starters.
What I want to see is PJ Walker win this quarterback battle, so Tim Jenkins comes on every week.
Hey, I like that.
You know,
and by the way, for no other reason than that.
Yeah, I mean, like, how about that? I mean, unless you guys can deliver me Will Grier's off-season quarterbacks coach, that's a great dude and that actually likes us.
Cody, go knock on Will Grier's door and ask.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't live too far from here.
And then we'll be like, hey, can you dye your hair to match your beard or your beard to match your hair?
Dude, listen, as a fellow long hair don't care. I normally don't like to shit on my fellow long hair men, but dude, something just ain't right about his. The long hair does not do him justice. Like the short hair, man. I don't know what it is. Maybe people think I look dirty and shit having long hair. I don't know, but whenever I look at him, I'm just like, it's not working, man. It's not working.
Witness the Walker wonder. So Tim Jenkins, is actually I am pulling. I thought PJ was ahead significantly, but I'm giving kudos to Will Grier for responding in a moment. You got a little moment. The coaching staff, they gave it to be fair. I mean, they came out and said this is that we didn't give him a good opportunity in week 1, and then they came out and started him in week 2. Basically, he's basically a starter. They did that for not. I mean, I don't know if it's optics. It wasn't optics, but also, I mean, it does show that they were trying to be fair to the dude a little bit. And he made the most of the opportunity. I'll say that. So I'm pulling for PJ. One, because I like that bazooka he's got. I like the.
You like that one? Bazooka.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when you said that, I was like, yes, that's the best way of saying it. And I like his mobility.
Yep.
I like how he's gutsy, and I like having Tim Jenkins come on the show. All right, let's go to the final segment of the show, and that is the Ice Up Picks, where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up to get it together. Everyone is fair game. It's our homage to Steve Smith, where we've iced up 12. I've iced up a 12-year-old kid in Oklahoma I never even met once on this podcast, right? Everything is fair game. Who's got something good to go? Because mine is like super lame.
Cody, he has a plethora of them. It sounds like. So.
I know. Just roll them out for us.
Yeah, like I could really, I could do a whole ton of them.
Story you get me. You sent a story about the people that were upset about their dad dying. Is that one of them?
Oh no!
That's it, Joe. That was crazy, man.
That could have.
All right, so Cody sends me this. He just actually didn't send it to me. He just put it up on Twitter. And the headline was "Family Upset When Dad Dies of COVID" or something like that. Right. I'm sure I got it. So I clicked the link, and the first thing in the story, I mean, it wasn't even a part of the story yet. It was just a quote from a family member. It said, "My vaccinated dad caught COVID from an unvaccinated person.
And died."
And I was like, I don't even, you know what I did? I just hit the X button and I did not read another word. I was like, I'm sorry. I was
like, what? You're mad at the unvaccinated people, and your dad was double vaccinated.
And he caught it. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know what that means.
Hey, listen, I know people don't like to talk about this shit. Go look at what's happening in Australia and Ireland. Dude, they're protesting in the streets, and their government is like forcing them to fucking go back inside, dude. I'll leave it at that. Whenever you get some time, look at what's going on in Australia, and you might be like, whoa, that's some crazy shit. But my ice up pick tonight is Pittsburgh Steelers related. I felt that apt because that's who we're playing. The receiver drafted last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers is a guy from Notre Dame by the name of Chase Claypool. I liked him a lot. Had a really good year last year. But he posted this video on TikTok, and people were just like going off on him for this. And I'll just let it speak for itself and just play it. Oh, I didn't play the sound. Hold on, my bad. I fucked it all up. I gotta play the sound because it makes it. I know, but I didn't. I gotta share the sound, or it won't. It won't do it. But it's. I promise you, it's worth it.
Oh, I can't wait.
So Chase Claypool posted this on TikTok.
I know I said you just grab it from the front, sit down, and get on it like a saddle.
Dude,
I like the guy more already.
Right? Dude, people were going off at him, and I'm like, dude, I'm icing up all the people that were getting mad at this. Like, dude, this guy is clearly making a joke. Like, is that not allowed anymore? Is that the world that we live in?
That's exactly what TikTok was made for.
I know, dude. I saw that, and there was like a bunch of people that were like,
one more time. I want to see it one more time, just because I want to see this girl.
I know I said you just grab it from the front, sit down, and get on it like a saddle.
Hey, it's funny. I think it's great. How did he take any flack?
I know I.
Oh, he's sexist, and oh, that's an offensive joke. All this stuff, man. I wonder if, like, I know we don't have a bunch of women in the chat room right now. We normally don't. We have the select few. But, like, do women see this shit and get offended? I don't know. I would love to probe. I don't know who's getting offended by this, but I thought it was hilarious.
There was nothing to be offended there. Like zero.
I thought
That's
it was
actually what the internet was invented for.
Right.
You know, it's absolutely the internet was invented.
The most hysterical thing about that is the people that are actually spending money. At least 90% of the people that are spending money for like merchandise or game tickets, things like that. 90% of them are men anyway. Like you're already in a position where you're like in most women, in my opinion, are probably going to think that's pretty funny as well.
Hey, listen, I asked for a woman in the chat room, and we got one. Kieran Choi came in and says, I thought it was hilarious. See, there's only a select few people on the internet that get mad at something and blow it into something that's completely out of proportion, and then they want to act like their opinion represents everyone's opinion.
I'm more mad about this dental hygienist making the TikToks on the job or whatever she was. Like, where's she been? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm with my
dentist. That was very sexist.
Yeah.
She might have been a surgical tech. She might have been a surgeon. I don't know. You're right. I don't care. But all right, hit us with another one, Cody. You said you had a litany of them.
All right, you want another one? I can do that. So, you know who's very easy to ice up? Kevin Trudeau. And it's kind of along the same lines because it's basically like it's pandering. Like you like when I say that people go online and they virtue signal. Tell me that this is not amongst one of the dumbest fucking things that you've ever heard in your life. And it's just like pandering for the sake of pandering, and it just sounds so stupid.
It is exactly the example of the kinds of things you need to do to counter the she session and turn it into a she covery. Fact is, the conservatives don't talk about that in their lengthy platform.
So, in case you're wondering,
I don't even know what does that mean?
What the
Never
fuck
heard
did that
these.
asshole just say? He was, instead of saying a recession and a recovery, he changed it to she. We have to change the she session into a she covery.
Why?
Like dude, he's trying to be woke and lib, and I'm pro feminine, and I'm pro woman, and you might have missed earlier, like last year, someone had gotten on to Justin Trudeau for saying something about mankind and that it was regressive because why's it gotta be mankind? Why can't it be womankind or people kind?
Oh my
So
God.
ever since he got called out on that bullshit, he's in the media talking about
That's funny that he
a
does that.
she recovery and a she
One
session.
tweet made this guy do that.
The funny thing is like I almost think in his mind he's just trolling. Like
Totally. That's
but we know
what he's doing.
But like he's thinking that, but he knows he has to come across as genuine as well, because otherwise he's gonna get crucified. Dude, like that's like
I'm gonna tell you this, folks.
thing I've ever heard.
Here's for the cancel. You know what? I like wokeness. I like progressivism. I like us trying to be better people, right? But here's the thing: is that as someone who I was very pro Obama. I saw him speak. It spoke to me like, man, it was just a right moment, right time, and like. What I did is for the next 8 years, I live in an area that was not pro Obama, with a bunch of family members that are not pro. They're anti. And what I said is like, please just criticize the real shit. Let's not get muddled on like, oh, he wore a striped tie with
Right.
So. This is what, after 8 years of dealing with this on the defense side, like defending against, I guess, it's kind of like my Twitter, like Cam Newton Twitter sword, like you defend against everything. When Trump was elected, I did warn the anti-Trumpers is like, don't go crazy on the little shit. Like he will give you a bunch of big shit theoretically to be pissed about. But don't be like, oh, he misspoke. Like, so one of them was like he like misspoke about World War I and World War II. And they're like, oh my God, this. It was just like, hey, hold on, folks. And this is what I think this is like when you say mankind, like yes, gender, kind of that there's linguistic. I don't know what the right term is. I'm trying to get about like kind of that patriarchal mindset. They are real, but is that what the point of mankind, the statement mankind is trying to make?
But my thing is that who listens to that and goes, yes, slay queen, yay, bitch. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But that doesn't do anything for a woman anywhere. For any problem that a woman goes through, you saying she recovery and she session doesn't do a damn thing other than make you look like a fucking moron, dude.
Yes. All right. All right. See, you got another one? Hit us up.
But, dude, I'm gonna empty out my whole reservoir here, but I guess I'll go ahead and do it. You may have already seen this, and it's a message to the girlfriends out there. And that is, you have to realize if you're out somewhere with your man and you start a fight with another man,
I've seen this video.
Don't put your hands on the dude that you're fighting with, because now you're basically demanding that your boyfriend get in a fight to preserve your honor. And then shit like this happens.
Shut up! Shut up! She told you to shut up. You shut up and get the fuck out.
Oh, and the watch.
Now everybody getting dropped.
Oh,
night.
Boyfriend got slapped.
Oh, he's out.
Damn, and it's like.
She hit him first.
And look, she's still trying to go up there and like start shit.
I'm sorry,
like,
baby.
Where am I? Yeah, he's like, where the fuck am I right now?
He held back. He was about to light her up too.
I mean, look, that's pretty much it. Look, Heinz Field seems pretty lit. Hey man, listen. Keep your hands
I
to
didn't
your
watch
damn
that
self.
video closely. I've seen that thing floating around, and I just wasn't trying to get into the arguments everybody were having of it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just like vitriol surrounding it. I didn't see that mug got put to sleep.
And the main point should be, one, keep your fucking hands to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Then shit like this doesn't happen. Yeah. 100%. Like, I don't care if you're male or female. You should never attack another person, regardless of their gender, and expect no repercussions in return. Like, that's just not how the world works.
No, not at all. That's
All right,
yeah, that's
TK, you got to ice up.
That's ridiculous. I'm gonna go. Unfortunately, and this doesn't make me feel any pleasure in doing this, but I've got to ice up Cam Newton.
Oh man, for this vaccination shit,
dude. Like, regardless of whether he wants to be vaccinated or not, right? I'm icing it up, and whether it's his fault or New England intentionally did it, or the league was just being very, hush hush on the rules, and like it allowed them to not actually follow the things that they were supposed to. Basically, for those that don't know right now, Cam Newton is not a vaccinated player, and he hasn't spoken out against it or anything like that. Not like Cole Beasley has. But it sounds like there is probably like a decision he is making to not be vaccinated. Okay. And there are rules within the NFL that say unvaccinated players have to be tested there and not anywhere else. And so from the understanding that we've gathered is Cam Newton had gone out of this facility to be tested elsewhere or something like that. So tested maybe for something medical or whatnot. There's not a lot of details on that. And the rules are that he cannot be around, he has to remain outside of the building for 5 days and then pass multiple, COVID negative tests before he's able to come back. Now, why I'm icing Cam Newton up for this is because right now, in the middle of a quarterback controversy that's happening in New England, where Mac Jones hasn't necessarily beaten Cam Newton, but he has gained a lot of ground on Cam Newton from when the training camp started to now. This is the last thing Cam wanted to have happen. So now you have a Patriots organization that's frustrated with you. You're not vaccinated, so you already are going to have even if they were to try to trade you, or if they were to try to even release you, you're going to have that moniker over top of you saying you're not vaccinated. I love Cam, but right now Cam is in a tough spot, and if Mac Jones comes out and outperforms what people expect him to, Cam Newton's not going to be the starter for the Patriots. So I'm going to have to say ice up Cam for the circumstances that he's found himself in.
All right, my ice up pick goes to people that are selfish enough, and this is all humans, by the way, every single human, when we're selfish enough to take for granted what we got. And I'll put myself at the front of that line. The front of that line, homie. So, it's easy to, it's kind of like your health. You don't know it till you don't got it. Try to humble yourselves. Try not to be selfish. Try to remember the blessings you got in your life, because when they're gone, you miss them. So that's my ice up pick. It's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by Carolina Cat Chronicles, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We had a cool show tonight with Tim Jenkins. Thank you for that support. Witness the Walker Wonder, hopefully, so that will continue. Once he said, I'll come on every week, we're like, yep, sign you up. We'll see you next week. My God, he was like, I wish I would have said that. So you can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. You can call into the show at 252-228-5098. This Friday, Cody, we will not be having a Friday free-for-all, but we will be having a post-game show as the Panthers trying out their starters for maybe an entire half or something close to that. Postseason game. Where can they get a post-game show? Not postseason game. Post-game show.
Something like that.
Where can they find you on Twitter?
Yeah, at Cody Lax, CODYLAC. You can always find my content on drafttech.com, where I write comments for the first and second round for the Carolina Panthers. And yeah, listen, man, people have been loving the Friday free-for-all. We're taking a hiatus this Friday just due to the preseason game kind of overlapping with the normal time period. But literally every other Friday at 7 p.m. is the Friday free-for-all. And if you want to come and be a part of this show and talk to me directly, listen, we've had just about everyone drop in. Greg has dropped in. Tony dropped in last Friday that we did it. CK, we got to get you in there at some point too, man. Just give you all the opportunity to come on and be a part of the podcast more and further interact and talk about these Panthers that we all love. So be tuned for the Friday free-for-all. And, we will be here Friday after the game to talk about all the happenings against the Steelers.
CK, your timeline for the simulation just got moved up.
Yeah, it's going to be Thursday. I'm going to probably put together the highlights Thursday morning, maybe tomorrow night. And then I was going to see if maybe Cody was doing anything Thursday night. Maybe we can do a live little commentary over top of it. And then have that out to you guys by Thursday night sometime.
Yeah, man, I'm down. Just hit me up.
All right. Don't forget to hit, One Place, Panther One Place, Ellis up for me.
Yeah, John. Yep.
Yeah, let's get a 20-minute on Thursday. Let's get some work done, folks. It's time to get ready for this Panthers season. You can help us. You can help us do that by just simply being a part of the show. Call in 252-228-5098. Smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe. Tell one friend about the show. That's the best thing, man. When you say, hey, I'm listening to this, love the show, and you mention another friend that ain't heard it, it's a big deal. That's how we grow, one person at a time. One person on the bus on the way to the game, hanging out with us. Let's add them. Until Thursday, Friday-ish, and a lot of days just coming up. Keep pounding, folks.
Keep pounding.
Get us out of here.